It's from like Magnolia, you know, what are their names? Chip and Joanne. Our daughter used to live in Texas. She was in Seattle. Safety plans. Safety plans are a bit easier for us because he's right the safety plan. She's which house? She's true. I think so because it's an sometimes these questions.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, sorry for the delay. We will reconvene the meeting at 6:03 p.m. and there is nothing to report out on closed session items. With that, we can move to approval of the agenda. If anyone has any changes, deletions, additions.
I suggest that we move our discussion item. I know that we have at least one parent that wishes to speak on the classroom safety item.
So 11.1.
Yeah, and that kind of falls late in our agenda, so I thought it might be good to move that up if we possibly could.
Maybe we can move it to after public comment and full reports.
That's a board discretion.
Yeah, is that okay?
So I think there would be parents here, so if someone comes in thinking that it's the end, would you allow a comment?
I
Would that
can't leave this, right?
just in
It's
case?
just not an action item, so.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I just wanna make sure that if someone is thinking it's more the end,
It's later in
they
the
don't
night,
have the
yeah.
opportunity.
Okay, so we'll do 11.1 between 7 and 8, and then if other parents come in later, or anyone, not just parents, come in later, we'll leave it at 11.1. Just open up comment again.
So I move to approve the agenda with moving up discussion of that.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items?
No.
Perfect. So moving on to item number 4, patriotic exercise. Our student representatives.
Veterans Day is celebrated on November 11th because it marks the end of World War I, and then major conflict stopped at the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. It commemorates those who have served in the United States Armed Forces. And we'd like to ask for a 10-second honorary moment of silence to acknowledge the veterans who served. And everybody stand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 5, acknowledgements.
All right, our general acknowledgements for the month, November is National Child Safety and Protection Month, and it's also National Native American Heritage Month. As our student board members stated, Veterans Day was on the 11th, and Thanksgiving is day is on the 27th. In addition, we have some representatives from the Winos Crew Motorcycle Club who are here, and we would like to thank them. So President Schneider, if you would join me, we'll present them with a certificate for their donation of $1,700 to our middle and high school art and music program.
Little while we in the.
Thank you so very much. Yeah, appreciate so much all your support. So we have this certificate of appreciation presented to you guys for your support of our program. Would you mind getting a quick picture of this as well?
By the table.
Thank you so very much.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us. Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item number 6, communication. Anyone's received any communication? I know we all received a letter today from a concerned staff member and parent. Did anyone else receive anything?
I did have someone ask about how, which is kind of interesting, because it's further on the agenda, how locations in the school district are named. So I gave them their, policy and traditionally what we've done, at least when I've been on the board. So that's my communication.
And I had someone reach out and ask about homeschool students playing sports. I believe they are reaching out to bring them up.
Spoke with Greg on the topic that we were discussing tonight.
Anyone else? Okay. Okay, moving on, it's item 7, public comment. I'm just gonna read the second, sorry. Just go. Okay. Individuals may address the board on agenda and non-agenda items during public comment and/or at the time they are under consideration by completing the speaker form provided on the table at the entrance and submitting to Renee Holes, administrative assistant. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. Speakers will be chosen in random order. The timer will be set for 3 minutes. If you do not complete your comment when the timer rings, you may leave a written comment for the board's information. Each person may only speak once per agenda topic and is required to address the board from the podium. A total of 20 minutes public comment per topic will be allowed. In exceptional circumstances, the board may consider adjusting the amount of time allowed for public comment. Public comment cannot be acted upon or discussed by the board in accordance with the Brown Act. The board may request staff to respond orally at the meeting or at a future time. If you require translation service, please contact Renee Holes at the district office 72 hours in advance by phone or email. Regular meetings will be videoed and broadcasted on the FPUSD YouTube channel. Members of the public who wish to address the board may also submit public comments prior to the start of the meeting by emailing boardmeeting@fpusd.us. Staff will make all attempts to share and record any submissions received prior to or during the board meeting. However, depending on timing, late submissions may be provided to the board after the conclusion of the meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes each, which is approximately 390 words. And with that, is there any public comment on agenda items? You can either speak now, or you can wait till the agenda item comes up and then speak.
I don't need you there,
Okay, so nothing, okay. So then we'll move to item 11.1, which is discussion of classroom safety.
So we had a comment last time at our board meeting just about some of the behaviors that we had happening at Redwood. And so we brought this item for discussion just in the general sense at the request of the parent, and as well as just, for transparency about what we're doing, and so that we can have a little bit more of a discussion around the topic. I don't know if we wanted to allow the parent a chance also to make a comment on it as a discussion item, or if we want to have my presentation first and second forwards. I've got like 3 or 4 slides that just update where we are.
Yes, we're on.
Very good. So I just wanted to talk about some actions that we've already taken this fall. We've added a TK classroom teacher to help reduce class sizes in TK. We are starting a kindergarten class that will start on December 1st as well. That's an additional class there to help with those student-to-teacher ratios. I am in discussions with someone who will be moving into, I believe, the behavioral aid position. So I feel good about being able to get someone with some experience around that, supporting there. We also have brought in IECP, an outside organization that specializes in behavioral support. So they've been providing support in classrooms starting towards the end of last week and moving forward. I'm also in discussions with IECP to see about bringing, if they have like a behavioral coach that they could bring on that can support our staff directly in the moment, because sometimes it's hard to address the behavior after it happens. Sometimes that support and coaching right there in the moment. And if they don't have availability, I'm going to reach out. There's a couple of other organizations I can work with on that. We've also been working with some staff development. We have been targeting staff development towards our instructional assistants. Got a schedule for the rest of the year where they're going to have once a month intensive PD on Wednesdays each month. We've targeted de-escalation strategies and some effective classroom responses to behavior. One of the things that I did want to highlight is that we haven't had a lot of parents working with students on accessible counseling, so I just know that I've heard from some parents concerns about just seeing some of these behaviors in classrooms. I did want to let everyone know we have a counseling availability that's out there. It's online counseling, but it's the parent and student attend if they're 12 or under together. It's completely free for any student in the district, so if there's an interest in that, they can reach out to the site counselor, they can reach out to me, they can reach out to our family liaisons as well. That is something that's a service that we provide and will continue to provide there. Looking at building out some long-term capacity, we've got some teachers who have volunteered to go become certified trainers for what's called PROACT, so that's professional assault certification training. So it's how to respond to escalation of behaviors in a professional setting and hopefully de-escalate the behavior. And so we will have at least 2 folks who are trained in that. We're working out schedules as to whether they'll attend. We're looking at the January or March. We're hoping to get them for January though. The problem is it's the week that we return from our December break, so it's some of the teachers are like, I need to reestablish control of the classroom before being out, because it's about a 4-day training, so it's pretty expensive. We've also been really working to build out training, just bringing as much training as we can, also to support teachers. So we're making that available through our SELPA, through just other areas. And we'll continue to seek out those folks, like I said, through IECP or through other organizations. And then I met with the leadership team at Redwood last week, and then I met with, it was just an open general staff meeting yesterday to just hear about what the biggest concerns were, where we need to prioritize to start. We'll follow up with some of the things that take a little bit longer to discuss and move forward, but the behavior concerns were the number one. So that's where we're going to start with our addressing, bringing in some outside folks to support us. And our goal, again, is to have some collaborative problem solving with our teaching staff, and then also make sure that we get to our number one goal, which is those safe learning environments for all our students. questions on?
So you mentioned online counseling.
Yes.
I know that there's a lot of resources out there for families through the district that, I don't know if families know about it, like I didn't know about the online counseling. I don't know if we can put together some sort of parent square message just summarizing the resources that are out there
Yeah, we're working on
for everybody, okay. And then I don't know if there's a website we're working on, if there's,
that. Yeah, we'll have a section where it's easier to find.
well, that's great. I mean, people should know that.
Yeah, and I think right now we're down to only maybe 3 or 4 families who are taking advantage of that, as opposed to at the height that we had 16 to 18 families at any given time. So it's available for students 12 and older. They can just attend the counseling without a parent or
I don't know, do they get told that? And
They have been, but we probably need to remind them. I mean, because it's just one of those. If you're not, if you don't need it in the moment, sometimes you disregard the until there is a need, unfortunately. So and all our counselors know about it and are versed in it, but still.
I know you have great signage in the restrooms in the high school.
Can add to that.
Laminated sign or something, I don't know, but it's, for a teenager, it'd be great.
And can you give us a little bit of overview of how the site counselor is being used, utilized as a team member?
Yeah, so she's been helping to de-escalate students as well. I think the frequency that's happening, that's consuming a good portion of her day as well as the principal's day. Is just with the frequency and the number of behaviors, it's been kind of unprecedented. I don't think we've seen this level of behaviors, particularly from our kindergarten and TK students. And unfortunately, it's not unique to us. I've seen this in, I've talked to my colleagues in other districts and we're seeing the same thing. I'm not sure what's precipitating that, but particularly our county seems to, many of my colleagues are having some of the same conversations with me about how, what can we do to support the students who are having this much higher level of need than what we've experienced in the past. But she's running groups when she can, but again, like I say, I think a lot of her day right now is just in that behavioral response along with the principal.
So unfortunately, then she can't support some of the students that are, might be affected, for lack of a better term, by being evacuated or.
She's not as available there. So I'm going to reach out to Thrive Counseling as well through Hallie and see if we can get some additional support there. Talk to her about what can be in place to help support on-site in-person.
Well, it sounds from what we've heard that maybe the online counseling might be nice because then the parent can be involved too, like they're included in the conversations too, so. Hopefully some more people will take advantage.
Yeah, and there's definitely a resource page on the website that has, and have been linked with, there's a lot of services. That when you're living high stress, because I'm just finding that these are all great things to commit to, but I truly feel like if you had 5 people in the room, it's not gonna matter because of the way the matrix is, the way the policies are. And I think it really shifted back in 19 when they passed the Keep Kids in School Act. That changed the matrix of how you're documenting, and not that, and even back then I don't know that we were having a problem or an elementary school child was getting suspended for being disruptive, but I feel like it's more than just training. I think if you can have more bodies in the classroom, you're not going to have the results that we're used to, 20 years ago. There's like different parenting style. There's adverse childhood experiences that are heavy. There's attention span for kids because they're digital. It's more complicated than just, I think these are all great things because I think the teachers need to have other skills, and if you're delivering your lessons the same way you have been 5 years ago, it's probably not going to work with this kid today because they are used to the waterfall reaction if they're using phones already. They're gonna, it's a whole different audience. So I think it's more of a legal question to be looking at the matrix of the behavior to see how you're documenting, and are you documenting so that there are these instances, because it just seems strange to have classroom and they remain, and if it's chronic, it seems like it's not happening like half the class is experiencing, so I feel like it's a legal question. Like, let's look at our matrix, are we addressing, is this needing to be documented, because that act doesn't say you can't suspend, and that the goal is not to send kids home, but this sounds extreme. So I think that it's something that has to be looked into at that level.
Thank you. I 100% agree with that. We've let it go. We've let it go too long.
Well, the law is in place for good reason. And I do know that Chris Rogers is asking, shout out, should there not be a law? Let me know by December 15th. This might be something that the legislature can readdress, because like you said, it's not just us here in this district. Everything's a little bit different now. And I don't know if that's what's shifted and changed, because we haven't had skillful teachers that haven't been able to have the skills or the approach or the resources to be able to manage. So I feel like it's bigger than just teachers and training. There's a whole other level that needs to be looked at.
Timelines, because you said you have 2 potentially are going to get trained, but I know I'm currently PROAG certified, but it's like 14 hours for the training, and you know, a lot of staff that has to be trained. You can't train everybody all at once, so it's a
Yeah, so the idea behind it, having trainers on site is twofold. Number one, we have more flexibility in when we can offer the training, because we can do sort of, you know, even if it's just an hour or 2 on Wednesdays, through a series of trainings that way. But more importantly, that we have folks who can help process an incident after it happens, so that we can kind of, again, have them coaching and not learning in the moment to say, okay, how can we approach this differently if a similar situation arises in the future? And so those are really the 2 big areas that we see the benefits of having our own trainers on site, and hopefully being able to expand in the future. It's pretty expensive, but I think it's a good investment of support for our staff and for our students.
and expensive just as far as staff time too, because you know, it's 14 hours every 2 years to stay certified, and that's, you know, a lot of professional development.
It really is, yeah.
All right, so we'll open up to public comment.
Stop here.
Yeah, yes, please.
So
Let us know your name.
my name's Greg Morgan. Obviously, I may be the only one in Fort Bragg that's going to stand up and talk about this, which is fine by me. I brought this to the attention for very important reasons, in my belief. Ms. Paoli stated on it big time. We're at, week 16 of school, and we're just now looking at this. Maybe by Mr. Aldridge's fault, but maybe not, right? We let it go for too long. These 23 other students that are having to evacuate class are taken away from learning. If it happens at 9 in the morning, it starts at 9 in the morning. These kids aren't coming back to class and being able to get back into the learning mode. They're 5-year-olds, 4 and 5-year-olds. Their day's ruined. We have to find a way to address, and I don't know if it's a suspension thing, but we need to hold the parents accountable as well. What do we do to hold them accountable? Online counseling, didn't know anything about it, right? Neither did Mr. Snyder. We got to do something to change what we're doing. There's the letter that you guys all received that was written a couple days after I spoke with Mr. Aldridge. When I heard about this letter, in my opinion, this letter was to try to undermine who I am and what I am. Was put out to tell people to stop talking to me, okay? I'm not gonna stop talking because I have a 5-year-old that's in kindergarten. I don't think it's fair for Miss Mallory. I don't think it's fair for any other kindergarten teacher or TK teacher for that matter to go through what they're going through on a weekly basis. There is a parent square that comes out. I'm happy that he did it after we talked, but it doesn't address 100% what's going on. The classroom was temporarily evacuated due to a student's behavior situation that required additional support. Please know that all students were safe at all times and staff followed our district safety procedures. We wouldn't have evacuated the class if the students were safe. Right? I mean, we wouldn't have these children coming home that saying they don't feel safe to go to school. We gotta do something. We have to do something as a community. It takes us all to raise kids. We've all put kids through the school. I put a kid through the school, I got a 22-year-old. The enrollment's down 7 to 10% across the board. In his letter, I believe it was 4 parents already left the school. I'm next, if we can't change it. I can't have my kid coming home and acting that way. He brings it home. It's every week in his class. It's happened 2 weeks in a row since Mr. Aldridge and I started talking. And it's not gonna stop until we do something. What do? I don't know, I'm here to help. I don't wanna be the only one complaining. When Mr. Aldridge and I talked, he did talk about the added staff. He did talk about we wanna have some more teachers' aides. I left the meeting with him and went down to Mendocino Coast Theater, talked with the new owners about possibly putting up an ad to help the school try to bring in some teachers' aides as a whatever you want to call it, I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm here to help. I don't want to just be the one that's complaining. Let's put our heads together as a community. We need more than me in here to talk about this. I'm not going to solve it. We're not going to solve it. We got to do something.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
So I don't know the next step. It would be nice to know some other strategy, because I feel like this is heavy on the staff, but we need to address, like, the parents are part of it, the students are part of it, like, those pieces are still unknown to me. Like, let's pause and see what the next step is. So I don't know if a study group or some sort of, because I think there needs to be this isn't the best venue for this conversation. Like, I think it might be helpful that maybe staff could, if they felt comfortable or wanted to hear from families a different time, maybe, I don't know if it would be during the day, but I'd consider having some sort of a round table to try to strategize. And there is a legal aspect of it. So there's a lot of pieces to it. It's not gonna be an easy fix.
For sure. I mean, like, I know there's the classroom volunteer time. If I was to spend more than 10 hours a year in the classroom, I have to be fingerprinted. Up until 2019, that was never like that. Never. Parents can come in at any point, any time, for any reason and help out.
Is there any other public comment?
Yes, we have the email one that's fine. Okay. So, dear Fort Bragg Unified School Board members, I'm writing regarding board agenda item 11.1, discussion of classroom safety. Been an employee with the district for over 11 years. I've served the district in various capacities, from instructional aide, behavioral aide, librarian, special ed, and behavioral support, and educator. As an educator, safety and behavior issues are a priority in my classroom. As Abraham Maslow suggests, students' physical safety needs must be met first before students can focus on academic goals. Over the past 11 years, I've witnessed several classroom disruptions and behavioral concerns. However, when I started in 2014, it seemed that severe behaviors only belong to a few for each grade level. Now, many years later, it appears that student behaviors have increased drastically across all grade levels. We've gone from a few students with extreme behaviors on site to at least 4 or 5 per classroom across all grade levels. I love working with all my students, even those who have struggles. Unfortunately, sometimes these little loves can destroy a classroom, hurt their classmates, and even use physical aggression against staff members. As an educator, I am here to love all my students, offer support, and provide an engaging educational experience. However, as today, a student's behavior can hijack their academic knowledge and make them feel unsafe. How can we solve this ongoing issue? The solution could be smaller class sizes at Redwood and more aid support. Please consider providing the first grade teaching staff with an additional teacher. Please consider providing Redwood Elementary School site with more behavioral and aid support. Thank you, Tiffany Marchson.
Thank you. Any other?
I did actually fail to mention that we have also hired 3 additional aides for positions that were open, so we.
3 additional.
3 additional 8 positions that were open, at Redwood as well, so we're finally approaching fully staffed for perhaps the first time this year with the available positions we have, so hoping that we'll see, an impact there as well.
So I would like to second what Diana said about, I think this is not the venue, that it needs to kind of drill down and be more, who's dealing with these behaviors in the classroom, so I would hope that, and we could be involved at the board level, but, to have, whether it's called a focus group or a, team meeting, or to include, parents and teachers, if they're coming. I would think they would want as much support as they can get, but, and Joe, of course, you're the conduit for that, but if, maybe we're way off base, but.
No, I think that's a very reasonable request, so.
Because there is, I read into the ed code, and it is stating, there's a fine line, like if objects are being thrown, I mean, how is that, that's almost close to maybe someone getting injured, I mean, that is, we need to be addressing those tiers.
We already have a safety committee. I know that generally the tasks have been different, but I don't know.
I think this would be more specific because right now the biggest impact we're seeing is at Redwood, so I think I would want to hear from the practitioners in that environment to have them at the table to talk solutions. And like I say, we've already started some of those conversations, but it's just, I think it'd be good to also have parents there or parent liaisons for support as well, so that we can connect all of those resources in one place.
And maybe that's part of it as well, is like trying to push out more to families, but those that you want to talk to or want to support are those that aren't available, because they're having things going on. So like how to, maybe that group will also try to push out some deliverables for kids and families. So that's a stress reaction. That's a stress reaction.
And it's unfortunate that we did have some parenting training that was scheduled for this, and then the group providing it was like, first, we'll do it online, then it was, we can't provide it. So I don't know if it had to do with federal funding or if it was under one of the grants that.
People have to be ready for that.
So there were some things that, so we're continuing to look for that as well, because we know parents need a forum to maybe come to and just have some conversation and get some support, because it's a hard job.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, without judgment. That's another, you get a lot of pushback. Someone's having a conversation, it's a sensitive topic.
So maybe you can see what you can do and let us know.
Yeah, I will. Some time scheduled, so.
That'd be like a next board meeting again, come back, or like you and I talk, or
No, are you available tomorrow?
maybe in the afternoon, this afternoon, okay?
I'll give you a ring sometime.
Okay.
Perfect. We'll follow up and.
Yeah, and I'm all for it, I'm all for being part of any, I don't wanna be the problem. I'm gonna start the problem, and obviously, thank goodness that we started it, because we gotta keep going. So I wanna help too, so I'm not just gonna keep talking about it if we can't figure it out.
No, we would like something to happen before the next board meeting. We know we are very slow moving ship, because we only meet once a month, so hopefully
for the
the
board meeting.
boots on the ground can,
Okay.
are way faster than we,
Yes.
Well, and that's really where, unfortunately, that's where it has to happen,
Well, and I think that's the point of,
with the policy.
this not being the best form is, wait until next month to meet is not the right answer. There's obviously smaller groups that need to meet between now and then.
And you guys can reach out to me, my number, I think Sage has it, anybody that needs it, anytime you need anything, anytime you wanna put something together, I'm available, I'll make it time for it. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Alright, thanks, guys.
So we will come back to this if other people show up for comment, but we will move on at this point to reports. 8.1, our student representative.
There's a parent-teacher conference also that is going to start next week. And swim lessons for the second grade have started at CU Star Center. And they have also filled 3 of the instructional assistant positions that they had vacant, and they also are preparing for a 5th kindergarten classroom that will start December 1st. Now for Fort Bragg Middle School, their basketball teams are underway, and there's a school-wide teams rally, which is planned for November 21st. And then Thanksgiving break is starting on November 24th to the 28th. And then for all education, this week their eligible high schoolers are taking a week-long driver's ed program to prepare them for getting their permits. And this month, several students are showing and hopefully selling their artworks at the Headlands Cafe. And next week is the first round of the exhibitions this year, and all students will be presenting on their progress during the first trimester. For Fort Bragg High, for Fort Bragg High School, their winter sports started, so we have basketball going, both boys and girls, basketball cheer, and wrestling. Also, a lot of our fall sports this year made playoffs, which is very different from last year. So, volleyball, cross country, and girls and boys soccer all made it to playoffs this year. And cross country and boys soccer both won first in their league. So, go them. Also, there is the Family Liaison Office is introducing something called the CAFE, which stands for Community and Family Engagement, which is a place right next to their office, and it's like a place for students to hang out. They can get hygienic items and food items. They have this like punch card system going on. Me and my friend made a commercial advertisement for it. It's a very interesting video. And they're gonna be showing that to other counties, which we love. And so see it. Yeah, it's on the bulletin. I'll watch it in 2 minutes. But and they're gonna be showing it to other counties to try and help them get started, is my understanding. So pretty cool. Also, there's a Boosters fundraiser tomorrow. Doors open at 5:30. It's a bingo night. $30. It's at Pentecost Hall. There's a lasagna dinner and a dessert donation table. And it is raising funds for the Boosters, which supports all the ASB clubs and the sports teams. So it's a very good investment of anyone's money. And lastly, there is Thanksgiving break, which is happening the week of the 24th, which will, and that happens after finals, which is the week before that. Right? Oh, wait. Oh, wait, no. Wait, that. Sorry, wait. Yeah, finals and then, wait, no, that. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Jumping a month ahead.
Yeah.
I'm ready for December.
Yeah.
Thank you. You guys are welcome to stay, of course, as long as you want, or if you're supposed to, feel free.
Is it business marketing technology?
Yeah.
Okay.
Howland Highway.
Is it?
Howland Highway.
All right, moving on to 8.2, general obligation bond funds construction project update. Thanks for being here.
Hi, nice to see you all. It's a rainy day out there.
You're going.
I don't have too much to report on. I'm glad we're uneventful, so we can carry on with the other more important stuff. But basically, funding wise, we're fine. This and I are getting our bearings on where funds are coming from and expenditures. I'm working with the contractor because, we did the GMP before we had the DSA approval, so there's differences. We're working on that, but everything's well within these contingencies that we set up. We had a contingency knowing that DSA may have changes and such. So well within that. And then the thing that came up today or yesterday was there's some additional city fees. Typically when we work on school jobs, it's an existing site. And when we tap into water and sewer and stuff like that, we already have it, so there's no fees. This is a new site, new services, so there's fees they hit us up with, and I met with the city of Barry today to kind of, they're trying to work with us to not, they have to be fair, they charge homeowners a fee, they gotta charge us a fee, but, I met with them and Barry today to kind of negotiate lower fees on certain things like storm drain, because storm drain is a one-time fee for tapping into the storm drain, but a lot of our storm water is gonna stay on site, and be percolated. That's kind of the new fashion. So I'm working with the civil engineer to go back to the city and kind of get some fees lower. And they're working with us, so.
Should we go to city council?
Pardon me?
Should we go to city council?
No. You know, it said in the, it said in the building codes, and, you know, they're working with us, so, no. It was more of a, oh yeah, because 90% of the time, we don't need to deal with that because we're already got established services on site when we do a remodel. But in this case, it's not that. So, anyway, so financially, we're doing just fine. And then schedule-wise, we're actually doing just fine too. The big objective between the start of the job when we started late and now is get certain activities done before it's raining. So we're not a sloppy mess and we can't move forward. So FRC is really good at, and Brad is really good at scheduling and so on. So the things you want to do is try to get out the ground as fast as possible before the rains come. So you want the foundation in. So we've got 2 of the buildings have foundations in. The 3rd building will wait till after rainy season unless things really look like they're dry. We've got 1 building B, as a concrete slab now. And next week we'll do the concrete slab on the A building. The big significance of a concrete slab is you got a big work surface there that you're not slopping around on. So they can frame walls on a concrete surface and it doesn't become a mess because you're slopping around. So we're at that point where we can keep moving forward without being hindered by the rain as much as it could. They don't mind framing up walls in the rain. Unless it starts getting torrential, they'll keep going. So anyway, so in that respect, we're doing good on the schedule. The other concern I've been voicing is we need to order the electrical equipment, and we have to have an application with PG&E, and we did a lot line adjustment. So anyway, the lot line adjustment is just about done. We talked about that today at City Hall too. We should have that next day or so, but probably the better news I got yesterday was PG&E, at least the local person, kind of woke up and said, yeah, this is imminent. Let's get started on it, because she's worried also that, you know, if we order now, are we going to have the equipment in time to get done? And that's a race we've been running in. So now they're not holding the PG&E application hostage for the lot line adjustment. They know it's going to show up tomorrow or the next day. So we really don't have any interest now. Just hopefully we weren't too late in getting things going, because I mean, I'm doing a generator for Horicon School District in Sonoma County. I'm just, this winter, I found, you know, it's probably like 9 months to get the parts, you know, we got the generator, it took 6 months to get the generator, it took 9 months to get the automatic transfer switch. Well, you can't outrun that. So anyway, that's the kind of stuff we're trying to avoid, is these just for whatever, ever since COVID, after that, manufacturers aren't making things as fast as we need them. So anyway, so basically the next steps is to get that lot line adjustment, finalize the PG&E, which is looking real promising as of yesterday, and then start framing walls. Now that we have a dance floor to work on, the concrete, just keep going. There's a little bit of sloppy mess. That was last week. So now if you go out there now, you can see there's a concrete slab to work on. And they added some gravel to create a little bit of a road so you could drive out to that slab without making a mess. And some of that gravel will stay as part of the underlayment for the concrete sidewalk. Some of it was just extra, just so we have enough width to get a tractor out there or a truck out there without being bogged down. So Brandon did some really smart moves to make sure things move forward.
Questions?
Right.
keeping it going because there are a lot of hurdles that you're jumping through.
Yeah,
A lot of different pieces.
yeah,
And a lot of agencies, and that's not easy.
yeah.
And this has been such, I've been on the board for a while, but I was an employee during this remodel,
Uh-huh.
and that was pretty awful. So thank you for everything you've done to make all this go very smoothly.
Keep trying to do that. All right, well, I'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 8.3 benchmark reports, fall 2025.
Unfortunately, Mr. Hildebrand fell ill this morning, so he texted about 5:30 this morning. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. So his report is there. I reviewed it. I don't know if you've had a chance to, but I could always ask him to maybe come to our December meeting if you have some additional questions about performance there. It's at the board's discretion, or I can walk through it now. It's up to you.
And I imagine it's available, but just to walk through it really quickly. It's a lot of slides, a lot of
Okay.
slides.
No, it's not too many slides.
Yeah, just to get little highlights and.
Yeah, so you can see overall in language arts, we have a significant portion of our population that's right now sitting in the one grade level below at overall at Redwood. And so that's really where there's a lot of our the intervention work that we have in the groups and things like that. We're really trying to make sure that doesn't fall into the red and into the red with stripes on it. Indicates 2 and then 3 or more. It's really hard to overcome having that many because then that becomes the classroom instruction and the students who are sitting at that high end aren't necessarily getting the extension in those situations either. So they're having those discussions about how they can do some creative groupings and things, but this is also early in the year and they build a lot of the language arts skills throughout the year, but still it's there's some big challenges that our teachers are overcoming with some of the other things that are happening at the site. When we look at it broken up by grade level, we actually see that our, in language arts, our kindergarten students are generally doing pretty well for this time of year, though it's really mostly letter identification, that kind of thing. At this point, it's not hugely in-depth, and concerned about our first grade kiddos and just trying to get those, again, get that yellow group down a little smaller and get a little more green on that. And then grade 2, we see that we kind of have a little bit of a rebound as we move through. As we look over at math, we've got about 7% of our students are at or above grade level for this time of year. You see the groupings there. If we look further at grade level, again, we have our kindergarten students who do pretty well because the requirements early on in the year are pretty basic, number identification, one-to-one correspondence, that kind of thing. First grade, we've got students who are, about 4% of our students are actually above grade level in math. And so, and nobody who's actually on grade level, which is an interesting graph. It's usually, if you only have a little bit at the top, it's usually that they're just on grade level. So, and then for grade 2, we've got about 6% of our students that are sitting on grade level. So we've got a lot of growth that we need to make. We had Tim Gill was on site, I know, with Redwood this week, and he was pushing into classes to demonstrate some of the lessons that he's got in place that help both math and vocabulary development. So modeling those for the teachers, taking that step out and saying to the teacher, and now in this situation you would do this. So providing not only that model lesson, but also that kind of coaching component as it's going along, and building those relationships out as he moves through there as well. Things that they're looking forward to, they're continuing with their targeted support, as I mentioned earlier. Again, the focus goal is on building those foundational reading skills for academic success. We know that's a big focus when it comes to the EL, the core phonics and reading intervention. We have some results from our students who are in reading intervention, so you can see that they're making some growth. The grade level score would be a 158 on these, so that gives you an idea of what like the bar of where they would be achieving versus the numbers that they currently have. So for first grade, you can see it ranges, all students are making growth. So that's the really super positive part here, is that as you see across, I don't see any students that I'm just like, made no growth, but it's just that some of our students were starting at a large deficit. We've had some grow as much as 72 points on this scale. So this is, I believe, on the Dibble side of things, which is a nationally normed phonics assessment. On the next slide, you can kind of see the growth that students have made from August to November. You can see that some kiddos made quite a lot of growth. The purple line is August, and then the red line is November. And hopefully next time we'll see that even higher. Second grade core phonics, same thing. We've got students who are making growth across the board. The grade level score is 212, so it's the same scale. It's just that the grade level score goes up each time. So we've got a whole range of kiddos who, and these are in their, from the lowest performing to highest performing on the assessment. So those are at the highest performing level. When they get up close to that 200 range, then they'll be transferred back out of intervention into the regular classroom. And then again, you can see that growth in second grade. In second grade, it gets a little tougher because they're not just talking straight phonics at that point. They're talking about diphthongs and all the different combinations of sounds that happen, and how, getting into a lot more sounding out words, even sometimes nonsense words and things like that that are just not. The kids start to go, why? That's not really a word. And I've had to give that assessment before, and like, yeah, you're right, that's really not a word, but how would you say it anyway? All right, and that's what's going on at Redwood. So, any questions on that?
No questions, but it must be so hard. Yeah,
So hard.
it's so hard because you can't like school if it's hard. You know what I'm saying? Like it just, if it's hard and it's a challenge, and it's but I did look further into that Mississippi Miracle. It's pretty extreme. They actually had their state really wake up, and they had the state having, phonics coaching. They went in, it took probably a decade, but they slowly took at it, and they even had this, which I guess everyone pays attention. They didn't advance the child. If they weren't at third grade level reading, they did not advance them. So it made everyone really pay attention. Like, this is serious. Like, we need to work as a team, and that's what it took to get them to be working towards prioritizing education, and that's part of it too. So, I don't know, my own question's always like, are they coming to school? What's the attendance? But there's a lack of priority, and that seems like it's coming more, since I've been on the board, it just seems like people do not value what's happening at school academically as much, and it's really starting to show.
And one of those other programs, if you'll let everybody know that we do have available, because the number of works that students have read to them before they even get into school, is we do work with Dolly Parton Imagination Library. That's available to every kiddo in our zip code. We use our community schools grant to pay for that. So any kid in the 95437 zip code, 0 to 5, they can get a book a month through that whole time. Again, that's a program that First Five advertises it in a lot of those venues, but if you know of anyone in that situation,
Thank you very much.
Are kids still back these days?
it's generally discouraged in California unless there's some significant rationale behind it. I think it's based off of a lot of research that showed years ago there was little to no benefit in retention necessarily. It's about
Interesting. So yeah, I was a little bit, when I looked into it a little bit deeper, I was like, wow, that's pretty severe.
and I don't know that California is gonna change much around that as far as
No, this is
regulation
Alabama.
goes. But I think that also that approach does give parents more of a buy-in into really encouraging that, because the kiddo doesn't wanna have lose that social connection to their peers and that kind of thing at the grade level, so they kind of say, no, I wanna commit to this a little bit more. Again, research doesn't really show that it's an effective strategy, but I guess in some states that has worked, because I've heard in other states of them doing that as well. And just it's like, well, okay, then what do? You've got half of your students who aren't reaching
Right.
proficiency. Does
But
your second grade just become, or third grade just become a huge holding ground for kids?
I do like the intervention from the state level, because if there's best practices, why isn't the state helping us? You know, we don't have to reinvent that wheel, and CSBA was looking into this strategy. It's not the answer for this year, but I like that.
And
Maybe
this-
to-
And the state
Step it up.
did provide some money for reading intervention, and they put the cutoff at schools with, I think it was 94% free and reduced lunch and above.
Wow.
So that's how far the funding carried them down, as opposed to saying, you know what, every kid needs to learn, so we're gonna fund this. Reading's a big deal, so we're gonna pay put a lot of money and effort into it, because we could have some really amazing things coming out of if we just had more personnel trained in that, more coaching support on the ground. We just, as a district, don't have the money to. I mean, we already have 2 intervention teachers at each of our elementary schools and intervention teacher at our middle school. And we could use a lot more, quite honestly.
I think I'll definitely be reaching out on that strategy. And I think there's gotta be resources at the state can come in and help and not have it affect the state.
And I think a lot of it is they say, well, you can attend this big meeting here or there. I mean, they don't take into account, they need to come to us.
Yeah,
Like,
I
we need
agree.
the on the ground support, have them push in, come see what a principal's day is like, so that they're not saying, hey, principal, do these 5 other things in addition to everything that you're already giving your job.
Once again, it'd be good to know how this compares to other. Just looks pretty depressing.
Yeah,
Where-
I think Dibbles, we can do some comparison reports. So I'll see what we can pull.
Seems like a lot of resources are going into Redwood and a lot of work, so hopefully we'll see some change. Anyone else?
Well, I guess what we have, that it's also super important, that's like this is the kid's entire foundation of their life. It's like we can't expect the grade in middle school and high school to pull out some miracle if they haven't had a good foundation set from the very beginning.
Greg?
Just do mine too.
Oh.
Sure. All right, hello. First real formal presentation here, everybody.
No pressure.
What grade are you in? Yeah. Julian Tinsman, in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, Bean Hill back. So a lot of this actually we already went over when we had our meeting, I think in September. Mostly the strategies at the end. So I'm gonna start with comparing the California dashboard results from last year to the year prior, and then looking at the iReady reports, pretty similar to Redwood's as well. So last year with our last year's at the top for our California dashboard, your priors at the bottom. Our chronic absenteeism the rate of it has increased. So if you look at the top tab, you can see that we're in the red zone, but our current attendance rate is 95%. The chronic absenteeism is based on one student, 10 or more days in their
18 days.
18 days.
10% of those.
Our suspension rate has also increased in the last year, but the English learner progress has increased for the positive though. We're at the green now, so we hope that we will continue that next year. Oopsies, how do I do that? Perfect. Very good. Great. Thank you. Use the wheel. All right. And then for English language arts, we see progress from the orange up into the red, so we increased 6 points, whereas the prior year from, I guess, 22, 23 went decline. So all of those first two columns are showing the increase in both English language arts and math, and this is all based on the CASP, so that's super great. And remembering that third grade is the first year that students even take the CASP, so we expect numbers to not always be that strong, at least in third grade for sure. Science is in the yellow, and I don't quite understand. Joe, can you help me with this? When science didn't present in 23, 24, does that mean there were?
It's just, this is the first year they're assigning a color to it for science, so it's just very different. They also, I have no idea what science points are, but they have assigned us science points.
In fifth grade is the first time they take the science test, too. I think it's 5th, 8th, and 11th.
10th or 11th.
So these are our current iReady, well actually these are from our August and September. We're having our first trimester assessments in the first 2 weeks of December. So similar numbers, honestly, we have 15% of our students for the whole school are at or above grade level. And then I'm looking at that, almost 60% are 2 or more grade levels below. And here's a grade level comparison. They're not too different in the grade levels, except that 60% in grade 3 is, a worry for, or concern, I should say, for a lot of us. In third grade, right now, we have a program where they are doing the UFly program, University of Florida Literacy Institute, where they have taken the whole third grade class, all the teachers, and leveled them and have them broken up into different groups. So they go to like our 2 interventionists, and then into the 5 different classrooms. So that's basically, they're broken up into 7 different levels in targeted instruction, typically phonics based. But the older kids, or excuse me, the higher level kids are doing like Greek and Latin roots. So it's fantastic differentiation for me and those higher kids. So this is based on other groups. All of our kids at the top, still ELA, and then our multilingual at the bottom, and then special ed, multilingual and special ed at the bottom. And again, I think Joe was mentioning this before, that like, we don't have any greens in our multilingual for ELA, but we'll be looking at comparisons of what the hope is with iReady, where they project, here we go. So this is for all of our kids. So currently we have 16 students, like the bottom ones are current, 16 students at or above grade level 60%. And then we hope to increase that 16 to 26% by the end of the school year. So with that middle group, 1 grade level below, they expect that to maintain. However, the 2 or more grade levels below to decrease. So that's basically with them using iReady instruction, and then students have independent work time on iReady. And when they do this diagnostic, it's an adaptive assessment, so it gets harder as they go. And then meets them at their needs. Teachers can also pull out instruction specific to certain groups as well, based on the kids' needs. This is the same with a multilingual population. And currently, as it said before, 0 at grade level. Hopefully 1% at or above grade level in English. For our EL kids, we have Maria Ramos, who holds students, and then she also pushes in and works with small groups of kids in class. You get to see a picture of her in our highlights. Our SPED kids, the same thing. We're looking at trying to increase that 3 percentage points up for our special ed students. I'm learning at this site that our, I haven't been in this site, I feel like in the past where the special ed teachers lean in so heavily to like the whole child. So we're very involved in behavioral issues with the kids as well. It's refreshing. Okay, math. Again, I'm just going to focus on that high number again, the 60% that are 2 or more grade levels below. This is the first year that they have done that one of our intervention teachers is focusing on math as well. So we have 2 intervention teachers, one is full-time math, English. The other one is maybe half-time math and half English. And the one who's focusing on math, Ms. McGee, is working closely with Tim Gill and working, fine-tuning her program and then also doing some diagnostics with her kids. So grade level comparison, we need to get those second graders up and strong. I feel like the best slides, honestly, are the ones where we're looking at the projections. I like these the best. It's more positives for us. So again, if we can get the smaller groups, bring everybody up. I think it would be helpful for us to look at comparisons to the county as well. I don't know if that would be helpful or to the state levels. Bilingual, so again, these are just projections with folks pushing. I need to check my timing. I know last time I went, so please help me out. Math students, we have 0% of our current math students in special ed, 3% are at or above grade level. And 6% is our projection. No, I guess, excuse me, the 3%, that's just the, no, never mind. Yeah, that's at grade level, sorry. So the projection is that like they expect that none will be above grade level. But there is this other part in iReady that talks about like if they're on an expedited track, that maybe they would progress faster. So we talked about these strategies before. I crossed off the WIN, which was a kind of the same idea as the UFly in regards to taking the whole grade level, stretching them out across the grade level, and grouping them, because they tried it in 4th grade, WIN standing for what I need. But it just wasn't, it was too clunky for the scheduling part of it. It was a great design. They might go back to it again, but they decided to put it on hold for a bit. So 4th grade is now, just over the whole classroom instruction, and then we have our 2 interventions for that. 5th grade is full class and instruction interventions. Again, I don't know if you want me to go through this. This is what you all already have seen. I am happy to see that people are definitely using their interactive notebooks in class a lot. Kids are busy with those, taking notes. I was observing a teacher the other day, and she said to the students, "It's really nice for me to have my notebook of notes right here at the same time when I'm introducing a new lesson as well." So modeling the use of those notebooks is great for the kids. It's a resource. Tim was on our campus yesterday. He has mostly been pushing into the classroom. I look forward to him being able to meet one-on-one, especially with our newer teachers, to give them more support. We have a lot of teachers that are embracing the sentence frames. That's been, it's a new strategy for teachers to kind of, own it and get it into their daily routines. And it kind of seems like heavy lift for some folks, but people are embracing it. And I think it was super helpful to have him be on our site prior to school starting, because they could start the school year with those strategies in place. I think that's pretty much about it for now. Our attendance hasn't been too bad, I don't think. I don't know what it is for the district, but 95% is pretty much where we're at. That seems pretty solid. reaching out to families. I've been making some phone calls home to folks as well. One parent I spoke to revealed to me, she said, I really haven't shared this with anybody, but my student is just highly anxious and doesn't want to get out of the car. So trying to come up with these, there's just individual little nuanced reasons for people not attending school. And there's our graph that's on our website every week. Oh, we have a bullying assembly. So talking about suspensions and behaviors, it's been tricky at Dana Gray as well on the playground. The spinny thing is back, the tire swing thing, and zip line is back in action as well. So that's fun and increases like the edge of competition of who's going to get in there first. So we're working on how to make sure that students understand what the rules are and all of that. We have a bowling assembly on the books for December, so funded by the Parents Fund, which will really help because there are some hurtful words that are exchanged. That is predominantly with our third graders also. So there's, I don't think it's extreme behaviors as at Redwood, perhaps, but there is some instruction that needs to happen and proactively once our teachers are all on board to, of course, help our kids. And parenting classes, I'm working on those. Okay. That's it.
One quick math question, and I'm gonna say up front that I'm, showing my math privilege a little bit since I was always a really good math student. So I'm just trying to remember context of like what was third grade math versus kindergarten math. Because when you're talking, 39.4% of third graders are 3 or more grade levels below, to me that's like at third grade I'm remembering like I was doing multiplication, whereas in kindergarten I feel like we're just counting. So we have 39% of our kids that are still just like working on basic counting. Am I getting that?
Like number sense and place value are just numbers and how to make groups of 10.
Right.
It's not solid and, right, they should be working on single digit multiplication and getting those facts out to double digit.
So just some like real world context to that I wanted to point out because that's, it's such a high percentage at 3 or more below and like what that really means even at that, at that grade level, that 3 years to me seems like, going from counting to multiplication seems like a big growth kind of thing, So.
How do we make that lift? I know that we're going in December to review the math curriculum. I hope that we can find something that we'll see. But if there's something that everybody likes that can go across the grades, so the transitions are easier, but yeah, I hear you, I agree. I think it's a heavy lift.
So I don't know if you can answer this question, but I don't know how, looking at your projections for school-wide for both ELA and math, it's like 50% are projected to be 2 or plus grade levels below. So how does that, I guess more for you, like, does it go all throughout until graduate? Like, I don't know if.
I mean, I think the strategies that they're trying with the creative grouping, I think that's really, after we work out the details of that, I think we need to expand that pretty much throughout our elementary, because I think that allows, if you've got like 7 levels that are happening, then you can have very minute shifts in like, okay, you're here, you're not, so you're ready to graduate to this next class, or we can regroup when it comes to the next assessment, so.
Get to middle school, are we gonna have like a 3rd grade math class in middle school? Like, is that how?
I mean, at some point, I think for some students that we bypass some of those conversations so we can get in and give them a calculator when it comes to some of the basic calculation features, so we can start talking about actual application of mathematics at some point, because sometimes without having a why, they don't really, there's not really a connection to, it's an abstract thing. So.
And one thing too, I don't know, do we have, like in our district, do we have centers, like small group instruction happening much at Redwood? Because it's not happening in Denver, like in like parent volunteers.
I don't think that we've had a lot of parent volunteers since COVID, really. I mean, that's been another piece that's been a challenge, because I think there were a lot, and then it's kind of fallen off. So it does become a challenge. And then staff absence has greatly affected the ability to predictably have that staff support in your classroom to be able to, because you have to have usually at least 2 adults to run an effective group instruction, small group
again, this was August and September, so let's hope that December is like, what? Beginning of the year.
Laura Viera, Fort Wright Middle School principal. Our benchmark report. The first slide that you have shows, as I've been doing the iReady over time, just so you can look at the different cohorts. I don't know if it's useful at this point anymore, but I included it just so you can kind of see the progression since we started using iReady as our benchmarks. The second slide shows our overall placement by grade level, and it also has how many students out of that total grade level took the test. We also, in reading, as you can, we do have some students that are at or above grade level, and we expect to see growth. What I would say for these reports is because it's the initial benchmark for the year, there isn't a growth report to share until we do the second one. And then next slide is for math. As well, there's a tiny bit of green in each of the grade levels, so that's hopeful. And then, as you can see, there is a lot of work to be done in math. I will say to your comment, Sage, I just heard today, I was just whispering to Tim in a respectful manner, that I heard on a podcast today that University of San Diego, their incoming freshmen, it's something like 75% are at a third grade level math. So, and for entering college. So there's a lot of work to be done all over. And especially in math. Okay, next slide, please. I went through, you can go in and sort by student groups, and then I tried to kind of match the color that they have on the bands of at grade level, approaching, and 1 or 2 below. So you can see by demographic how our students are doing, and then also included in each of those grade level bands the number of kids who actually took the assessments. So that one was math, and then I also did the same thing in, next slide please, in reading. So you can look at our student groups in the same manner, and I tried to have it be similar to what you can see when you look at the overall achievement. And then the next slide. And then it's the fall and the spring, we do a writing performance task. It's a CASP released question for the performance task that each of our humanities teachers administers. We come together as a full staff, so all of our teachers at the middle school to score using rubrics with calibrated rubrics and calibrated samples, and then discussing, is this a 3, is this a 4, is this a 2, like what are all the nuances and the difference, and really talking about the rubric in great detail if there's a paper that you're on the fence about. And so those academic conversations with the teachers looking at student work is super powerful. So that's the breakdown over time. It's not super easy to read, but I will just say in 6th grade we had 4 4s, which is the top of the rubric, 15 3s, 32 2s, and 53 1s. 7th grade there were also 4 4s, 11 3s, 37 2s, and 56 1s. And then in 8th grade, 12 4s, 27 3s, 51 2s, and 15 1s. So there is improvement happening in each of the grade levels. Next slide. Here's our math performance task over time, also a release CASP question that has all of the, 6th grade had a separate performance test that they did, and 7 and 8 they did have the same question or the same prompt that they worked through, and I know you can't totally tell from there, but in 6th grade, 73 students got a 1, 73 students earned a 1 on the rubric, 18 students got a 2, 7 got a 3, and we had 3 students that were a 4, which is the highest score. At 7th grade, we had 75 students that received a 1, 13 students that scored a 2, 13 students that scored a 3, and 1 student that got a 4. And then in eighth grade, we had 64 kids out of 1, 20 out of 2, 18 received a 3, and 12 students did receive a 4 on the rubric. Next slide. Then our science department, theirs looks a little bit different, well, because it's next generation science standards and we do have cross-cutting standards. So they identified the standards that they were assessing, and then you can see they broke theirs down by % for each of the grade levels. And there's 2 pages on that one. And overall, those are our benchmarks for the first semester, and we'll do the same thing again in spring. Questions?
So I have a question. Just because we had our workshop last week, I think it was, and do you think that this data, if you drill down into the, I know you did it on the one slide, but if, like, for example,
The performance task, I can't drill down by student group because it's not, the reason I can in iReady is because it's built into that program. This, if we get Illuminate, maybe we can do it.
So, Aries Analytics won't do it?
Because this doesn't go through Aries Analytics, this is everybody's scoring by hand. So then it goes into the grade book, but then,
The Aries gradebook, or?
well, I don't even know, actually, I don't think always that they do count the performance tasks as part of the grade. It's an assessment to determine when they're at.
Count as a participation assessment.
Well, I was just trying to think, in our questioning, whether, something that we could, because I think one of the big takeaways from last week was that the curve cut, like, if we drill down and look at specific groups, then it essentially affects everybody, but I was just wondering, because you've been doing this longitudinal data for a long time now, so I don't know whether we want to recreate a whole other thing, or if we just can, do what you're doing and just get down to the numbers, is what I was asking.
Well, and I've been trying to figure out how to do this and share the performance task data with you in different ways to do that, but we would have to go through all 400 kids, well, much less than that now, but do it individually to figure out what the subgroups are.
Oh, wow.
So we actually have a contract on our contract section it's called EduClimber, but it's Illuminate what it's become now. Because we can't go through multiple years and be able to display this for those student groups without it being.
Because right now this is a spreadsheet
data analyst.
that then I just add to every time we do, but I can't, I could drill down, but to be honest, I don't want to spend that kind of time.
Yeah.
There's other things to do at middle school.
That's what I wanted to know, is whether it was realistic.
Not yet. Back in the day when we first, when 9 years ago, we did have Illuminate, and we could show benchmarks by demographic just because of the way Illuminate is structured. However, teachers were choosing from an item bank for their questions, and it wasn't always aligned with what our CASP results were, and that's the nice thing about iReady, it's 100% aligned, and we always wind up within a few percentage points of the iReady is really indicative of how we're going to score in the state test.
How many years have you been at this?
Wow. This new child. Questions? Okay, thank you.
So Joe, over the years, would you say that kids are learning less with paper and pencil? I mean, do you think that type of grade levels, do you think that's a factor in why we're not
I think,
connecting, there's less play? I don't know,
well,
or
I'll use an example.
Yeah.
Sage came by as well last night to the middle school parent conferences, but they had a whole different approach of the 7th grade, right? That was in the
And that was project-based learning, and so, well, go ahead.
So anyway, so they had a project that they showed that crossed literally all of the areas, and then just had all of the 7th grade teachers were there in the library to meet with parents, and they could go to that student's work and kind of point to specific things where they've got strengths, but also maybe some areas of concern. And so getting that piece, and then the next piece is to get the learner involved in that conversation. So their goal is to eventually get the student-led conferences where the student presents that work to their parent, says, here's what I'm doing great, here are some areas that maybe I need some growth, and have that reflection. So that's overall where they wanna get with it, and I think we can get that system with as many kids as we have and get that learner agency involved, that's the piece that will get students, because we've got so many different ways of learning, pen and paper's gonna work for some kids, but there are a lot of other kids, the computer works fine, or there's other.
There's some data out there saying that when computers enter math, that
Yeah.
Exactly, I'm thinking I wouldn't have learned well on a computer.
But I would also, this year, middle school is piloting, it's called mid-school math, and in conjunction with building thinking classrooms, which, he just came out with a new, specific to middle school book, Peter, I don't remember, it starts with an L, I wanna say. So we have kids that are doing, everybody's got a role, it's kind of like CPM math from back in the day, so they all have a role, they go to the stations, they're recording their math problem or their math discussion and then presenting back to the class. And so we've had Go Math it was adopted right when I got hired, and I don't think anybody in California likes it. So I'm hoping that we're gonna see great improvement, because when we have a new math program, we have a full math department this year. And hopefully that remains stable, because we haven't had a stable math department in 9 years that I've been there. And the number talks, which Tim shared with everybody on Tim Gill on the sentence starters, so that kids are talking about math and they know how to talk about math because you've given them that foundation, and we're doing that K-12 now, as of November 3rd. So I think with all of those things in place, I'm hopeful that we're gonna see a change. And when you go into our middle school math classrooms, kids are talking about math, and most of them are engaged, depends on the day. So I do think you're gonna see improvement, but our math curriculum has not been great for a decade almost now. And before that, I think it was Envision. I don't remember, it's whatever we used when I taught fifth grade. So, yeah.
We CPM math, I taught that my first year.
We had it in Boonville when I was an admin down in Boonville.
Takes me back.
Yeah, and I know we talked about like comparing our numbers to the state numbers and stuff like that, and one of the things that's interesting for that for me is like, looking at the county or even the state, in some ways tells us nothing, because, so everybody's doing math, so we throw everything out and start over, and we're not the ones who are we're not out there writing a new curriculum and things like that, so it's hard to, when things are so bad across the board, it's hard to start.
Well, and what we're looking at for the math curriculum adoption process is, I think, almost all of the districts except for Emerson Valley are at a point where they're ready to adopt math. So we're seeing if we can't get some alignment among districts where there's at least maybe only 2 or 3 curricula that get adopted, instead of there being, every district having something different, and that way we can have, third grade teacher talking to a third grade teacher maybe in Ukiah about the same curriculum and the same challenges that they're having around something, and really expanding that thought partnership a little bit throughout the county. So that's really the goal, and then the county office can more effectively support that growth as well. So we're looking at it as a system from that level as well, because we're all of us as superintendents are coming together and going, gotta do something different, this is not working.
Okay, anything else for next one? Moving on to 8.4, Dana Gray campus highlights.
Fun stuff now. It's all fun. Yeah, I love it. It's all fun. It is all fun.
It's those of us who are good at math didn't think that last part was fun.
We'll get there. On that note though, too, I know that like the job market is also looking for people who can think creatively across different, areas. So even if they might be a calculator for a lot of it, they can be creative.
Just go to the job market looking for anybody.
Right?
Yes.
So it should work.
All right.
There we go. Okay, so this is just a quick overview of the pictures that we're going to have in here. This was fun. This was really fun to get in here and get in the classrooms. The only thing I wish I could have done is been able to put a video go in, because in one of our classrooms, we have a teacher who at the end of every day, if you're ever on campus, you've got to check this out. She has a closing circle with her students, and they sing this song where they're all about, like, she finds a scholar of the day, and then they have like this like song of some sort where they're like, we are proud of you, we are proud of you. And it's so uplifting. So if you're ever having a low afternoon, I'd be directing to that classroom to get some good happiness. A lot of good happiness on our campus. So the day at Dana Gray starts with student volunteers reading the announcements out, the morning bulletin, which changes here and there based on what's going to happen that day. It always ends with a joke of the day, except on Friday it ends with 10 Kacha winners. They get a Kacha prize, we're not too arguing about this, for doing, having kind behavior on the playground and such. Goes into a basket and they get to get some prizes out of the prize box. Monthly assemblies. So this is all what I've inherited. It's fantastic. That's and it's full staff involvement. So Johnny, the custodian, is making an announcement for what was his, the Golden Broom, the cleanest room for grade level for after lunchtime, and then there's attendance. So that's Ms. Deaton, the music teacher, leading the show with giving grade level awards for attendance. Actually, that's classroom per grade level. So fun times. The staff was realizing that they were, it was a really rushed experience on the end of the day on Friday. And so now we're having it in the morning on Fridays, the last Friday of the month. But they really appreciated it last time when we made that change. This is our pod squad led by the fantastic Ms. Malsum, our school counselor. So these kids on the left are going around to collect spirit points for the kids who wear school spirit on Fridays. And then these kids on the right, this is a different day where they are putting some pencilgrams that day. All right, so they can buy a little pencil, write a little note, and it's, given with a, like a little secret admirer type note. This chess club is run by Sandy, one of our grandparents, volunteers. He volunteers in Jess Green's 5th grade class. He's pretty much there every day, but I'm not 100% certain on that. He's a super help, and then he comes in early on Thursday mornings and runs chess club with students who want to learn how to play chess. Ms. Deaton has just started a choir club, and so music and art switches on, 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off. So this was at the end of September, where she had her choir kids sing Do Re Mi, and then in October we had art with Lisa Hernandez, so those two go back and forth between Redwood and Dana Gray. Had a great parent turnout for that. The choir club is volunteer or is optional for kids if they want to join in the morning when they're on campus for league. The Chill Village is run by, I assume you all are aware of all these already, though. Mr. DeLuca. So the homework club is something that we also want to push a little bit more because that's an opportunity where students can get in there in the morning and get some help with their homework. And sometimes kids want to be in the Chill Village so often that he has to turn people away. They're like, are you been in here this week and so on? So it's open during the morning recesses, the lunch recesses, and then Mr. DeLuca is also running small groups right now as well. He's got a girls group and a boys group that meets for 6 to 8 weeks to work on social skills. Popcorn Fridays is a group from our Parents Club folks. So I know this is happening at Redwood as well, where they come early on Friday mornings and sell popcorn. And that's run by Isabel and Ben, two fantastic parents, always smiling. And they get there so early, and I'm sure they go home like totally smelling of popcorn. But they get mocked by the kids. They have started doing flavored popcorn now as well. Caramel popcorn is a great thing. 25 cents a bag if you ever want some popcorn. And then parents are signing up to come in and help them with the process. The Dolphin Dash this year we ran at the Redwood track. Apparently the year prior they raised almost twice as much. So during Parents Club last week we were talking about what we need to do differently to get more participation in that. But the kids had fun, and we're also talking about maybe doing it at the high school track next year. We'll see. So so that the Parents Club funds projects such as, field trips and such. The garden was kind of on hiatus while our garden coordinator was, had a baby. So in place, students could go out into the garden with their teacher, and just do different activities, but then she also had some folks come in that were from Chile and Peru, and they were teaching the students about like native plants and like where potatoes come from and such. It was fantastic. So opening up the world for them, talking about seed saving and such. Iris is now back and starting twice a month to resume her instruction. So these are just some snapshots of English language arts in action. And on the bottom left, there's some cursive work going on, which is great to see because I have to say that on a lot of the campuses I've been on, cursive kind of gets pushed to the side. So it's nice that that's happening as well at Dana Gray. I think it's important. You can read Great Grandpa's journal and all that. But actually, honestly, some students, if they can't do printing very well, they often are, it's easier for them to do the cursive because they don't have to get a pencil. So, and we have our EL instructor, our aide down here in the middle picture, helping student one-on-one. And then the whole school works on opinion writing the first trimester. So those are opinion writings on the wall with little printers in front. So Ms. Sadler in the top left is demonstrating an example of what Tim Gill has been instructing all of us on with the sentence stems. So she has her class seat on the floor in front of her, and they're reading out the sentence stems. We have some graphing, mixed numbers, and fraction multiplication. And then when I was in the classroom, they were also talking about fractions as well. It's just a little bit of snapshots. What I like, it's been really fun for me to see because I'm truly an educator at heart, is to see the variety of instructional strategies that teachers at Dana Gray use. They are fantastic. And they differentiate on the spot. They know their kids really well. They know their skill levels. This was actually a game. The picture in the middle was a game. I couldn't honestly ever figure out like how you got a card and such. I know it was a matching game, but this was one I hadn't seen. Miss Green is here teaching a almost like readers theater, you can consider it, but they were focusing on the executive branches of the government. So on the far right, that's a jury right there, casting some votes, and students on the left are waiting for the outcome of those votes. It was a little bit heated. I think at one point there was some passion involved in the conversation. So some of the things also that's happening is we have our mindfulness folks coming in, and they're going to be starting to work on bringing martial arts back in as well as they did last year. So that's going to start in January. And then these photographs are from, we had 4 teachers and 1 instructional assistant attend a program that was held at Mendocino Woodlands the weekend after Halloween. So they went out in the woods and worked with California State Parks and Nat Geo Explorers to get some curriculum ideas and kind of inspiration. And then this other one, the Learning Communities for School Success Program, we have 3 folks that are interested in that. That's going to happen in Boonville in January. That's going to be fun. And then of course there's Halloween. Lots of festivities for that. I had never seen cucumbers shaped like a ghost before in the top right corner, which is great. And then Bob Ross, I had to put Bob Ross in here as well. Popped in to see Bob Ross.
Great costumes.
I know, great costumes. And there was Rock and Roll School Day. I don't know how many kids we had show up.
I don't know, I was too busy
Yeah, wrangling.
wrangling. We were a little short of that day.
Yeah.
It was a bigger group.
It was good, we had a good turnout.
Parent on a skateboard as well, it was fun. And tomorrow is the Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. So, if you'd like to join us, we start at CBC. I think we're there. Great. What's that? Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 5, superintendent report.
Okay. We'll move through these things. If you have any questions, please just feel free to shout out. We are pleased to announce that we got sufficient instructional materials verification from MCOE for Fort Bragg Middle School, Dana Gray Elementary, and Redwood Elementary. Those are the three schools that are currently required to be monitored by them. So we're all good there. We're happy to see that. We had our November 3rd Professional Learning Day. We had sessions on restorative practices, strategies to support our multilingual learners, and math vocabulary development. It's really nice, the strategies for multilingual learners and math vocabulary, they, through conversation that we had, but not through, the presenters didn't directly talk to each other, they actually intermeshed really well with each other. So we had some folks who were like, oh, I saw it from this perspective, and I saw it from this perspective. So they were, it worked really well and really did keep our target student groups at the center of the day for us. I think we had 82, 83 teachers in attendance. I'm trying to remember the 87, thank you. So attendance was still less than what I would hope out of our 120-ish or so certificated staff. So still working on that. We sent out a note from me and the principals to each person who missed, just saying we missed you, hope that you can attend in the future, and here's the things that we missed. Please reach out to your colleagues to connect about that. The other big thing that we had today was the California School Dashboard went public at about 10 o'clock this morning. I was in a meeting, so I don't know exactly what time, so I'm using some of the preview data that hopefully did not change, because I didn't have a chance to necessarily go back and make sure. I'm sure it stayed the same, but you have our district at a glance, just some of the overall enrollment. This is cumulative enrollment, so when you see it and you're like, that's higher than what our enrollment is, it's just that that's the number of students that we have throughout the year that's reported. That stay with us for longer than 30 days, I think is the technical side of that. Our academic performance in English language arts, we declined by 9.9 points as a district. So looking into that some, I know that certainly our 11th grade students came in a little lower than what we have seen in the past. And so I think the strategy that we're pivoting to with the having the interim assessments will be good, because we get to thinking about it, we're like 11th grade, some of them haven't seen a test in English language arts since 8th grade at that point. So, you know, there's not a lot of proficiency with the test itself, and then there's not really a lot of, I don't think they see a connection between their performance and anything, to be perfectly honest. So, the system was really buggy, so I couldn't get great comparisons out to other, you know, like to the state and county level. So I'll bring those to you as the system, I think, should be working well today. I wanted to get this information to you as we had. For overall in mathematics, we are in the red there. We maintained at 2.3, which means we increased 2.3 points, but with us being 100.8 points below standard, we've got a lot of growth that we've got, as we've been talking about tonight. We've got students who are in the red. We have our English learners, Hispanic, homeless, socioeconomically disadvantaged, and students with disabilities. Those, we know that some of the target groups that we have going, talking about the curve cut effect and things, those are going to be encapsulated. In a bright spot in our academic performance in science, we had increased 2.3 points and have 45.5 science points. I have no idea what that actually means, nor do the people at the state. I sat through the, well, it's what we've assigned for the dashboard. I don't really know what that means. So we have some students in red and orange, and I'm not sure how we ended up in the green with students in red and orange. Again, they didn't have a lot of description on this. We will drill into these reports. Like I say, they just went live and fully functional today. They were really buggy when I was looking at them last week. So we'll continue to dive in and see, analyze that data and see what we've got. It also helps that each school can go in and look at this same report for the school level, so like Julian was showing in her report. We can drill down a little bit, and that will be more helpful to target students there. In our English learner progress, overall as a district, we've got 36% of our students are making progress towards English proficiency. That did increase 1.9%. I think our goal was to increase 3%, so we're still falling short of what our internal goal was, but we are making progress there. A very bright spot is our college and career indicator. We increased by 11.3%. And so that's a solid nod to all the work that all of our educators have been doing, and seeing the culmination that happens in the high school. We got 53.7% prepared. Chronic absenteeism maintained. I'm a little mad with myself that this data kind of crept up on me last year. Towards the end of the year, when I checked in like May, we were okay, so we must have had some absences that efficiencies that were on edge in May that I missed. So sorry that I did not report better on that, but we have 7 student groups in red there, which are most all of the students that we report out about. And again, chronic absenteeism is a student missing 18 days or more. We do have our attendance liaison this year, so I'm really hoping that we see some positive steps there. I think at Dana Gray we're already seeing an increase. I think, just for reference, I think you were probably at between 92 and 93% last year. So
Awesome.
That's maintaining 95%. That's amazing.
Yay.
So that's quite the increase there. Graduation rates, we saw a 5.1% increase from the previous year. So we got some solid gains there. Our color here, it didn't show, but it's actually green. So that's we're definitely making some positive gains there. Hopefully we can keep that momentum going, get that number up over 90 and eventually to 100%. So we want all our kids to graduate. This, of course, is the 4-year graduation rate. So if a student graduates in 5 years, then they don't get included in this. So there's some nuances to that graduation rate, but it still is. I'm glad to see that 5% increase. Our suspension rates, unfortunately, we knew that we had some increases in suspensions, particularly around a couple of incidents that happened. We had an increase as a district of 2.4%. So we'll dive into those a little bit more. I'm hoping our trends are going to be a little bit lower, but we have to explore other options at Redwood. So take that with a grain of salt. I think overall, compared to the state, I honestly don't always trust other districts' reporting of suspensions, because we try to be very honest, and when a student gets picked up for a behavioral reason by their parent, if we call it suspension. Other districts, I think sometimes they say, well, I didn't write out the paperwork, so it wasn't a suspension. I tend to think that we need to have integrity and report the way that we report. But I know I've talked to other superintendents who say, well, we don't report it. And I'm like, different interpretations, but I'm going to choose to err on the side of maintaining integrity in our district and our data.
And that's historically how we've been doing it. I mean, we
Yes.
just haven't changed.
Yeah, there hasn't been a shift in that. It's just I'm disappointed that there's other districts that don't necessarily want to report that way, because I see some that are very low, and I'm like, how are you maintaining like less than 1% suspension rate like that?
So it's interesting, it says 1669 students assessed, and the other site's at 1,000.
I know, I
I'm
think
wondering
that
like
was
what that's
something I
about.
missed in the reporting there, so
Yeah.
I apologize
Yeah,
on that.
no worry, but I was curious if
Again, it was being very, like the report was
maybe
being
it was
very
being updated.
Yeah,
So it's switchy.
but I'll bring some better comparisons to this. This was just the initial run. Local indicators, we have standards met across the board with the information that's there. Any questions on the dashboard? Like I say, I'll bring some better comparisons to our December meeting. It was just, this was the initial run through there. Talking about some fiscal things, our annual audit was conducted, well, we're still submitting some items that they give clarification on that kind of thing, but we conducted most of the work last week, so Arliss has had a busy couple of weeks working on just getting all that to them. It has to be completed by December 31st by the audit firm, and then we have to report it to the board by January 31st. And we always get the, well, I don't think they send us the books anymore. We finally got past that, but have the report to you for them. We also received a rebate from the IRS for our electric buses that we purchased. So we actually, when Wendy was here, we contacted a company who said, yeah, there's this IRS credit that's out there. And we said, oh, great, file for it. They said, well, if you get it, then you owe us, what, 25% of the? 25%. Yeah, so that's the $72,000 out of the $288,000. However, that still leaves $216,000 for us to use on facilities and other priorities. So I think for something that we did maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of work for, that's a pretty nice return on that investment. And it would be nice to be able to direct that towards some facilities needs that we have. So, and then we'll have our first interim report up in December. So we'll be looking forward to that. Arliss is working diligently on getting that done now that we're past, it's through October 31st. A couple of things that didn't necessarily make it into my slides. I today met with folks at the California Conservation Corps to talk about the idea of building out a Pacific Corps, they're calling it right now. But the idea being that there's a corps dedicated to kelp restoration, abalone restoration, that kind of thing, and how we as a school district can feed into that and work with them. Mendocino Unified was also there, the superintendent, Mendocino College was there. So it was a good representation from the academic side as well as from our school district side to kind of build out this partnership so that maybe we can have our students really engage in some pretty cool things and have some options for direct restoration of habitats around here. So get fishing back up where it was. Some other things. I also met last week with Dr. James. She is the new pediatrician out at Mendocino Coast Plains. So she is a pediatrician, not a NP or any of that kind of thing. So if you know someone who has that need, she just started, I met with her on her first day last week. Gave her the rundown of everything that we've got going as far as supports for the school district, and she's being very supportive to talk about using our verbiage and supporting parents and students and their needs. And you know, I don't think I've ever had any other pediatrician sit down with me for nearly 2 hours to have a conversation about students and how they're performing with the school system. So that was pretty impressive. And that concludes my report.
Okay. Moving on to item 9. Approval of agenda consent items.
Warrants from October 1st through October 31st. The minutes from the special meeting of October 6th and board meeting of October 16th. Personnel reports, contracts, and an out-of-state travel request.
Anything anyone wants to pull? Questions? Right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the consent calendar. To approve the consent. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to item 10, board action items 10.1, comprehensive school safety.
So you hopefully have had a chance to review at least one of the plans. They're all pretty similar to each other. The newer sections, we tried to make sure that we had some language from the district level. We do have to, I will put these out to our fire and police personnel. They have actually consulted on the parts of the plan that really affect them, but we will send the updates to them as well to see if there are any concerns. Typically in the past, they've had no concerns about any of our plans. Otherwise, I know the principals have been working through with their site councils on approval on all these. We would recommend approval.
So do we have to go through each one?
I think we can approve this one.
Great.
Are there any changes that
Questions?
we can pick up on? If they're all the same, similar boilerplate?
Yeah, they're all pretty similar. The biggest things that have changed, they required some additional information about cardiac event response, opioid response, and support for students with disabilities in an emergency situation. I feel like there was one of these things. Some bigger 4 areas. Anyhow, they were things that may have been in the plan or we may have had plans for, but we had to explicitly.
Is there any public comment? Okay, if there's no other questions or discussion, entertain a motion.
Move to approve the school safety plans for the entire district, graduating grade, middle school, high school, and alternative ed.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Kelly,
Yes.
trustee Schneider,
Yes.
trustee Babcock, yes, trustee Austin, yes, trustee Stevens.
Okay, 10.2 Transitional Learning Center lease agreement for new location 2025 to 2026.
Can we, you guys can? Thank you so much for
Oh, thank you for hanging out.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I think that's all we were waiting.
Or you can stay.
So our Transitional Learning Center has moved to, or we're proposing to move, actually they're in the process of moving right now, to a new address at 225 South Garrison Street. This is much closer in the town. They were out on South Street by the hospital, and it just, particularly this time of year, once it started raining, it became a muddy mess. And where they were, it was hard for some of our students with some limited mobility to get out. It was, we thought it was gonna be a better location than it was for them, and just after a year of being in that space, it was not serving their needs. This one is perfect. It's honestly more accessible probably than their previous property, and it should work very well for them. I think the only hurdle we were coming into was that the water hadn't been turned back on. So they were working with the city to figure that piece out. But other than that, it's really great. I know there was a question about the lease addendum. That is in the supporting documents
Thank you.
on there. That just basically lists out what
That's
what's theirs and what we need to bring. So I think we had a refrigerator from the other one, so we just were able to bring that over. And the landlord is very excited about having our program there. Is really trying to talk about longevity there and all these kind of things. So I think it's going to be a really great fit moving forward.
My only question was the term of this is, doesn't align with our school year at all, and then of course it's set to not switch to month to month, it's set to terminate at the end, so.
Yes, so we talked with her about that. I think the intent is if everything works well, that we would renew for at least that would be longer than a 1-year term. We just want to give it sort of that 1-year trial period. Go.
Other questions? Comment? I'll entertain a motion.
To approve the transitional learning center lease agreement for this location.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Babcock, yes, trustee Statham.
Aye.
Trustee Austin. Yes. Trustee Bailey, yes, trustee Schneider.
Yes. Okay, item 10.3, board policy and administrative regulation recommended updates from CSBA for September 2025.
I know when we met last month, I told you that I need to run this past administrators. We all met last week and had a good conversation through, kind of explained the basis for some of the things. Administrators are good with the policies as they're written, so I would recommend approval.
questions, anything?
Were there any options?
Some links. I would draw designated hot tubs. For the most part, long legal updates.
I move to approve the recommended administrative regulations for September 2025.
Is there a second? I'll second. Is there any public comment before we vote?
There's no. Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Haley?
Yes.
Trustee Baxter?
Yes.
Trustee Stephen?
Aye.
Trustee Yes. Motion.
Okay, so for item 11.1, there's no one in the room. Have we received any public comment?
There is no additional.
All right, so moving on to item 11.2, student support and professional development plan.
Okay, in the agenda item on our online program, I added all the information from CDE about this program. This was something that was included as a part of the Budget Act this year. Our amount is roughly $450,000, I believe. And so my recommendation is we have until the school year, at the end of 2029 to spend this. And there has to be a plan in place to do so.
Wow.
I think that we're not in any dire need for this school year to use these funds for anything operationally. And so I would recommend that we come up with a plan as part of the budgeting process for next school year. To think about how we want to allocate those funds. While they gave the name Student Support and Professional Development Block Grant, it can be used for any operational cost basically that exists. So it's a pretty open grant source, and I like to use those funds and keep those funds in our pocket for a time that we will need it in our budgeting cycle. So,
Did we apply for this grant?
no, it's a block grant, so it's just given
Okay.
based off of our enrollment.
Does it require any community outreach, or is it just totally internally monitored? I mean,
No, just a board approved plan, I think is
Yes,
the extent
okay.
of
So it's not like you need input like the LCAP or, something
No,
like that.
it's pretty straightforward.
Pretty, a bucket of money that you don't have to have so many reports on it.
Yeah, there'll be some kind of expenditure report, sorry. But that's pretty typical for, they just wanna see how it was applied, not necessarily, there's no particular rules for that.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, 11.3, district core literature selection procedures.
Okay, so we just wanted to start a conversation. I've had some parents reach out to me about concerns about particular novels that might be read in classrooms. And as we started to dive into it, our teachers are doing a great job of picking out engaging literature for our students. However, I think if it's rising to being a curriculum level, so all students are expected to engage in it, there should be some approval process. And so we're looking at kind of what some other districts have done, and so we have a proposed process that's kind of here. We would develop out some forms that supported basically the educator kind of laying out the case for why, so you had some background information. And then we would give a few opportunities for public input. We'd have a couple of discussion, kind of an introduction discussion item, a discussion item at the next board meeting for, plenty of awareness on the public's part to be able to come in and make that comment. And then an action item on a third board meeting that would allow sufficient time for review of that. This is like I say, this process, we did not invent. It came from working with other districts. I think Renee's done some of this work in the past as well. And, the reality is many of the titles that are on the CDE list are great, fantastic literature. However, if you look at the most recent adoptions, sometimes they're 4 or 5 years out, and so some of the relevancy with students in that time period can shift significantly. So our teachers are, I was in a meeting with some of our humanities teachers at the middle school, and they're like, I've got this amazing novel that, so they're passing it around, and they're all getting very excited about it, and they're like, it's not on the Navy's list. I was like, okay, well, we need to come up with a process so that you can have that, before we buy 100 copies of it for classrooms or whatnot. So this will continue to develop, and I'd like to offer opportunity to have any input or questions about that process at this point.
Does this align with other districts? Have you?
Yeah, it's pretty similar to what other districts are doing, but we can obviously tailor the process a little bit for us if we would like. In discussion this with the teachers, they thought that was perfectly reasonable. In fact, we sent a sample form to one teacher, they completely filled it out and sent it back. They were very excited about this particular.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I think, they said they would very much love to engage with the board and share any thoughts they have about why they were choosing to do that. So it would be a good way to get some teachers involved.
Well, and it's neat to have them across the board, like looking at it as I don't know if that one overlaps, that your topics might be staggering, or, you could even, I don't know, I just feel like the more engagement you can get from students, like maybe teachers have picked 3 and you get to vote, I don't know, just have some fun out of it. Because there are so many novels and there's so much going on that.
Do you think this, I see the reading and do a group discussion, is that at all time when, that could be linked to DCEC or?
Possibly, I think, honestly, in talking with our English and humanities, for the most part, they already pretty much do that. Like they already, at least 3 or 4 of them are reading that novel. Like I said, they were at the meeting and they were exchanging and saying, here, you gotta read this, and so really getting excited about that part of things, just as part of their PLCs. So I think there's a good structure for that in place. I'm sure if they were to approach and ask if they would like to earn DCEC credits for some of that development, I'd be happy to chat that over.
I just think, I think it was brought up at one point that, there's lots of opportunities for staff to increase their wage. And this might, and then even if they got other people from other departments to, like, for example, I know my sister loves to read, but she's not an ELA teacher.
Right.
But she, she's doing the book club, like, she would just like to, I don't know if she needs any DCs. But I'm just thinking, again, then you get more, sometimes I feel like one of the reasons I was really motivated on the board when I first came was that, all 5th graders got the same curriculum. So I think that one of the things about the books, I'm kind of revoking, but about even curriculum adoption is that I would like to see more people involved in that discussion so that it's picked for a variety of reasons, so that when that person leaves out of the department, it's not something that somebody inherits that really was somebody's pet project and not really good curriculum. And I know it's less of that's happening now than it was 10 years ago when I joined the board. But anyway, the more people that we can motivate to go higher on the salary schedule and be involved in curriculum and choices for district students, I think this, I guess I'm kind of looping around, but am I making sense?
No, I understand where you're going, yes.
That, it could fill lots of check boxes and include more people in a discussion.
This process is a professional development option.
So you're recommending this becomes an official process?
Yes.
Policy. So it could take 4 to 6 months to get a book approved?
I think about 3 months to get it approved.
Okay.
And
So
that's
3 meetings, so yeah.
3 meetings,
Three
but then they
meetings.
have to pick the book and discuss the book and.
Yeah, and I would say most of the teachers I've talked to, they are reading a lot over the summer, so they can start this at the beginning of the year, and hopefully by 2nd semester they can have it in place to read. And it usually takes them about that long to develop out the lessons and the unit plans and that kind of thing.
I'm not too familiar with this, but 3 meetings seems like a little extreme, but Two would be.
But I think if people that are, cause I've been approached by both of these books that have been hot buttons this year, or one of them was before too. But we would like parents to actually look at, so if it's on the agenda, it gets out in the public, we have to wait that long to let people, voice
Hear
their
about it.
opinion, hear about it and things like that. So I think in the world of education, teachers are excited, they wanna get going on something. But if we wanna make sure that we vet things with the community, and it's, especially if it's not on a already vetted 15th other layer somewhere else.
Scott, just for reference or comparison, many districts actually use four.
Okay.
One was redundant, so
I just don't wanna
It's, this is
make
the
it
Cinnamon
impossible,
version.
I don't wanna make it impossible.
Or people
No,
not
for
want
sure.
to,
it's not, it just requires,
It could be twice a month.
You can also make the third meeting a consent item, so that.
For sure, yeah, it's just not really, like, we've already had the space for it.
That's true.
So, not to bad subject, but are we gonna go back and have this done for books that,
I think that would be maybe a stretch for ones that we've been using, unless it's the board's desire to want to go through those conversations, then I know, the two that are in question, I don't think we have any issue with having the teachers come and talk about them, they've seen the students.
I guess for me, it's like if we're setting up like an approval process, and then we have stuff that's not approved, then we kind of leave ourselves open for people like, well, you didn't approve this, you know, so it's kind of like, you almost have to go back and redo it, just so you don't have to do that.
and I just feel the one book has now come up 2 years in a row, maybe even 3. So I hate to have people have to go back and jump through hoops, but I'm kind of leaning towards they maybe should. And to Sage's point that, yeah, if we don't have an approval, or if we say we're gonna have an approval process and these weren't approved, I don't know. I could go either way, but I know that one problem has been brought up multiple times.
There are a lot of books throughout the district like this, and should we do a bulk?
I think honestly, probably not. I mean, we could do a survey, but I think probably the books that we hear about are the ones that are the most controversial, but also the ones that are probably not sitting quite on the list in the spot that you might want, you know, that kind of thing. Because, you know, the one book, Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter, that is on the approved list for high school, but they're reading it at the very end of 8th grade. So there's an argument that is it appropriate for 8th grade or not? And after speaking with the teachers, I think they handle it very well through the delicate situations and that kind of thing. And I'd like for them to have the opportunity to come to you and say that, and they're perfectly willing to do that. But I don't know that we need to do that for every single book that may not quite sit on one of those lists. I honestly don't think there's a lot of them. And anything that's going out there, we do have our opt-out policies that are there, and the recent Supreme Court decision that allow parents to opt out, that still applies, so they can opt out of anything opt out. That's not.
Can they opt out of the math books too?
Not
I mean,
very
my
good.
kids don't like
Not
math,
very
my
good.
kids don't like math, so.
In a technical sense, yes, I think that they can, honestly, under this, because it just talks about instructional materials. It doesn't really, it doesn't, but, you know, you can argue that 1 + 1 is not 2. Or that's gonna carry you.
Okay, so next steps,
Next steps, we'll bring a more complete process to you. This was just sort of our initial outline of that, get some forms and all that kind of stuff.
anything else? Questions?
Thank you, Joe, for, you know, I know you've met with some parents and families and things, and I appreciate the follow-up. And I know you
jumbling a lot, adding something like this, but I hope in the long run it keeps, and maybe we need to change the way the opt-out information goes out.
It comes as a part of that big packet at the beginning of the year, so that's overwhelming.
Right, and I know as a parent, you know, like when health was doing something particularly touchy, you know, another email or
And-
parent square, you know, so
And
they,
they
I don't
do send
know.
out an actual permission form with not your perfect Mexican daughter before it's read.
Okay,
So it does, like, it was I had to sign a paper form last year for my 8th grader to participate.
so it's not a negative, it's,
No, it's I had to sign,
okay.
yeah.
And I mean, often they have their curriculum, you know, they have at that
But
beginning
I'm
of
just
class,
wondering how it
yeah,
gets to
you
the
know,
point
like,
where
ooh,
the
I kinda
parents
like
are.
this, yeah, this novel, like, what even, I would think the more you can advertise what you're doing in your classroom, the better. Yeah, like, this is what we're gonna be reading this year, let me know if you're comfortable with it.
And I think, you know, thinking about taking 8th grade as an example, they list out, there's 4 possible novels and they end up reading 3, because they basically do one per trimester. So they say, here's the list of the 4 possible novels we may read this year, and we'll choose 3 of them, and like I say, they do send out that permission form for that one. That's, for better or worse, I mean, we even had conversation in my own house. You know, my child's like, I don't know if I'm comfortable with these things, and I said, well, give it a week. If you feel uncomfortable after that time, then we'll talk and we'll get an alternative. It is. But I think that's also why the teachers are very passionate about it, because it does approach some topics that even as parents, we don't have a lot of success in connecting with our kiddos around some of those topics. And literature sometimes is a really great lens into that, and we're very skilled.
Well, I have to see, you know, this parent cornered me in the bank, Diana gets the grocery store, I get the bank. And I started listening, because I don't sit down to read, but, so I was listening to the book, and honestly, it was not the content, because I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is right there in your face, but my concern was then what was the discussion in the classroom? Because I could see if it's not handled appropriately, it could go, and maybe that's just because I was a teacher and a school counselor, so I'm always like, you know, if the delivery is not happening well and it's not a safe place, then the conversation can go sideways real fast. And so that was my concern. It's like middle school, I bless them, but you know, that was my worry. Is, you know, how the conversation. There's some great things in there that I think could open conversations, but again, my worry was what the conversation was going to be and how that was going to.
And they're very, very dialed in about what area, you know, like this chapter's fine for them to read in small groups or independently versus, nope, we're going to be reading this all together because I know there's this content on this particular page or that kind of thing. So they can help walk the student through that content and really ensure that they've got that support instructionally, so they can talk about it from a mature standpoint and have that support, and not just left to take the knowledge. And then it was ironic that I know there was a social media post about a book at the high school level where they had the one single page that was objectionable out of this book, and speaking with the teacher, they're like, yeah, we don't read that page. Like, it's just, it doesn't really contribute much to the story necessarily. It's, you know, so.
Well, that's like, why are we reading this book then? Can't read every page of it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just this,
I get it.
you know, this one, it's sort of a journal entry reflection type part of the book, and it just doesn't add or detract anything by skipping that page. So I think they say, you can read it if you would like to, we're not gonna read it as class, and they move on. So we have teachers that handle it in different ways and different curriculums.
Okay, anything else? All right, let's see, future agenda. 11.4, FBSD board meeting calendar 2026, second read.
So we're bringing this back to you before we have our organizational meeting next month. The one caveat I want to put there is our Alyssa has gotten the schedule for her CASBO, the classes from California Association of School Business Officials. And March 12th is one of her required class meeting dates, which is of course when we would be doing second interim. So if we could do maybe a special meeting prior to that, that Marlissa could present the second interim, that would be the only item that we would consider at that point. And then either approve it at that special meeting, or we can approve it on March 12th if you'd like to, have more time to consider it and bring it back. Just Marlissa won't be able to be present at that particular meeting. I honestly don't know why they scheduled a March meeting or March workshop for you guys before March 15th at all. It's a deadline, but
Yeah,
that's,
this was seem very,
And
well, they're-
if we had a special before that, would that be too tight for you to get the information together?
well, all year I think is gonna be challenging.
it'll be a little tight.
Your
but-
learning curve.
Yes, it's my learning curve, so I mean, it is what it is. Originally, when I applied for the CASBO program, before, everything was Friday, Saturday. This one is actually hybrid, but most of it is Thursday, Friday now. So like on Thursday, that particular day, I don't have to go online hybrid until 3 p.m. 3 to 9. So there's 4 out-of-town events or doing those same things, but those are Friday and Saturday. So they just changed it all around, and I verified how we can approve the interims and things like that, or the interims, on a regular or special. And that would, there's 2 ways to do it: do the special first and then approve it the regular that I cannot attend, but for that meeting, it's March 15th, it has to be submitted to MCOE, so. Anyway, but it can be approved at either type of meeting.
That's smart, you would just have a special if you presenting that, and maybe you'll get that in the agenda, that could be quick.
I'm sure we could find something else to put on the agenda.
Always.
Always, but we'll try to keep it very, very much to that, so it's a pretty brief meeting, because it's already hard. So I'm thinking about like Diana and Sage, you might have council meetings that week, and that time of year for businesses for other folks and things that are.
Thursdays, but it's Tuesday or Mondays usually.
So I'm just thinking within the same week.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's this week.
It's just the way.
It's mostly,
Yeah.
it's just rough.
So it's just a lot of time.
Yeah,
So-
that's true. And then I know February 12th, I will be out of town for training. So that's when I see like a conflict. Hopefully there's.
One question I had is agenda settings 10 days prior, does that still work? I know it's done for a long time, but I don't know.
I mean, as long as you're flexible with the idea that sometimes things are gonna be added after agenda setting, because that's just the nature of business. Sometimes I don't know about them until after agenda settings. They're usually not big items.
Do you need it 10 days, like is it helpful if it's 10 that far in advance?
It is, because then by that Friday, we've developed the agenda and the backup for it typically, so it's nice to Monday, by Friday, we know we have that going out. And we have the following Monday to make any adjustments if you notice, that.
Or Paramount, that was,
Yes.
wow.
Thanks.
Right, anyone, any other comments, issues? Great. All right, 11.5, board priorities.
So I just want to say thank you to the board for the study session last week. I think that went really, really well. I know we're all, that Nicole is going to reach out and have a conversation with everyone after the meeting closed, and I know I mentioned this to a couple of you, that, you know, why it didn't occur that Nicole's going to be at CSBA, we're gonna be at CSBA, maybe we can just find an hour of time where we can, connect, have a special meeting, at CSBA to follow up on those priorities a little bit. And so I think we can probably find a time that sits maybe outside of I'm gonna meet with her Monday, so I'll go through tomorrow and identify on the schedule, maybe some times that, are not, taken away from our experience at CSBA, but before we go to dinner one night or something like that. We can do that. But otherwise, I really appreciate all the work that you put into this. My hope is that we can have a synthesis of your feedback that you put on the sticky notes in those 4 priority areas for the meeting, and hopefully Scott can have a conversation with people as well, so your input can get added in there. So I think once you see it, you'll probably say, yeah. I mean, most of,
We were pretty consistent.
I think we're pretty consistent across. Just
And those weren't ours, so I was like, I don't remember.
No, that was just a
any of those.
sample
So I was
document,
thinking,
I'm sorry.
"Oh, someone doesn't think these are ours.
no,
Those are
and that's why
ours."
we named it sample board priorities
Yeah.
framework.
It's in the back, I was like,
I thought, should we put a watermark across it as a sample?
it's actually not ours.
But I just wanted there as a reference document for us to reflect on. So again, I really appreciate that work. I've already started talking to the principals about, you know, if we have a document like this, what do you think? And they're like, it's gonna be amazing, that they'll be able to give you what you're looking for, and make sure that it's aligned with those priorities whenever there's other things because they said, you know, some of these priorities they can show in their campus highlights or whatnot too, because some of it is, you know, the campus, school climate, campus safety, those kind of things, they can give you some feel-good data points as well on that, so it's not just the straight quantitative sometimes.
Well, and then I also feel like we do benefit from Nicole's guiding questions, and so those, I know, like this evening, they're presenting things that we see all the time, and we're familiar with all of that presentation. It'd be almost worthwhile, making part of our board packet, that maybe, budgeting twice a year or something with them, I don't know what time, like during the day, just to have, because I think our brains are work differently when we're not on, at a board meeting, like I just feel like we get down to the details in a better way than trying to ask these bucket priorities at, when they're presenting something that's mandated.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know.
It's more of a study session instead of.
Exactly, than having them, spend their evenings here presenting something that they have to, but those things are good, to have them pushing out, but I just feel like there's a benefit to that, even if it was once a year, but I just feel like you get more, it's more motivating, and it seems like it's more informative. It's a social meeting, study session.
I think we can focus on specifically on the data at that point, it's not all the other priorities.
Mhm.
that
Can be a
sometimes
little
come
bit
out
more
in a regular
candid.
meeting.
Yeah, so it's not.
So let us know about,
Because that conference, you think that, because are we leaving on Wednesday, because it starts on Wednesday?
That was currently the plan that we heard, because we had heard that some members didn't want to spend 3 nights away. We
Okay,
can go on Tuesday night, but, so it's either we go on Tuesday and we get there late and stay, or we can check in or leave very early on Wednesday morning.
okay,
And very early is probably like 5:30,
okay.
So it's fine either way. If there's definitely a preference to go the night before, we can go the night before. If you're not, that doesn't, I'm happy either way. I see the benefits either, because it's either we're gonna drive and then crash in a hotel and,
Right, yeah, right, it is.
or get up early and drive. It's 6 in one, half a dozen the other way. So if there's a preference, let us know. We do have a hotel secured, doesn't have the greatest name, it's called the Vagabond but it's right off of J Street as you enter into the city. We felt it was important to be in downtown as opposed to, we could find rooms all day long out near the airport and all that kind of thing. It just didn't. But this place has been recently remodeled and has new beds and all this kind of stuff, so it looks pretty good. I know the area. It's about 3/4 of a mile from the venue. So we can definitely have members who would like to Uber over, or it's a straight walk. I think it's on, I don't remember if it faces on I Street or J Street, but it's like one block off at the most, and then that street down the road. So it's a pretty easy walk downtown. There's also the train if you go the other way, but I really don't know if there's any benefit hanging out and waiting on the train.
Like, what the dates for this?
So it'll be December 3rd through the 5th.
Leaving at, in the morning,
Friday, I think it ends around noon, because we were talking about, I was talking with Scott, and just saying that it would be really good for him to get back. On Friday. Yeah, so the third general session ends at 11:30 on Friday, so I think, yeah, so we could maybe have a little lunch and then get on that road.
Save hotel rooms to give up Wednesday morning.
Yeah, save
Hotel rooms.
Yeah.
Save
Is
us
everyone
time.
okay with that? We stop at coffee.
Yeah, we could just, I say, we could just keep that meeting going.
Coffee.
I also spoke with Nicole Glenser, and she would like to arrange for our Mendocino County folks. She has set up, made reservations at Cafe, I think it's 15 is the name of it, at 15th L Street.
Yeah.
For us at about 4 o'clock on the Wednesday, to have just a little mixer.
Nice.
So MCOE will host us. She'll send you an invitation with that information, but I'll let you know as well.
Okay, Dana Gray namesake honor, 11.6.
So the family of Dana Gray has reached out to us about that there's very little information about Dana Gray, who that he was and that kind of thing on the campus. And they would like to see about maybe placing a plaque. So I just wanted to put that on the information discussion. We've gone through that policy quite a few times, but for our newer members, we can bring that back as well. But essentially, it's not really changing the name or anything, which is really the policy that would fall under. It's just getting your permission to be able to place the plaque. So we'll reach out to them and ask them to kind of give us a mock-up of what it would look like and talk about some possible locations for that on the campus. I think it would be a positive way for our students to actually understand the namesake of the school.
So I had gotten, why is the high school gym named after Archer Anderson? And then, I believe it's a family member that they're still in town. So it would be kind of nice, everything's like John Dietrich, I mean, there's some history on that. It would be nice to have something, each namesake, because it's just important to honor the folks that have been named.
Well, there was a 2021 AVA article about Dana Gray and why is it named Dana Gray, and they couldn't figure out who it was actually named after, and they located like some serial killer named Susan Gray or something like that, and it was like, nope, that's not it, it's not the way. So, having additional information I think is good.
Yep. Great. We'll reach back out to the family and get some.
So are they still local?
I don't believe so. They-
Yeah, so they're, you're correct,
So they'd be willing to come up even.
Yeah.
Place the plaque and that kind of thing. They're pretty excited about it.
Who's the mayor of the park?
All right, 12.1 board reports. Would like to start?
start and say I attended the parent-teacher conferences yesterday at the middle school. That's, it's one of those, for me, that parent-teacher conference event, some years is like the most frustrating experience as a parent, because you got like mile-long lines and you're waiting to talk to one person and then, but this year, I don't know if I just lucked out on my time and stuff, but it actually went very quickly and got to talk to all the teachers I needed to, check in. So that was good. And then picking up off of Danny Gray's joke of the day, I'll throw out my math joke of the day since we're all talking about math, and it's okay if you don't get it. So the joke goes, figure out 3.1415 minus pi equals 2.71828. So math geeks will get that. Let's ask me about it.
Well,
We obviously are all more.
And it's no one I've talked to until share this math joke with has gotten it yet. And I told this to somebody who was like a advanced engineer or something like that, and they still missed it. So
Because
really
isn't pi,
obscure.
well, anyway, I'm
Yeah.
not a math person, but
I'll give you a hint. This number here is the constant.
So it's, it's taking pi minus pi. It's a,
Oh.
yeah.
See, that's too
It's really,
abstract
it's
for me, I
way
think
abstract.
It's a word and a math.
It's a word and a math joke, yeah.
Okay,
it's
now I
one
get,
of
I'm
those.
like, isn't pi, isn't that the number?
Yeah, it
okay.
is, yeah,
Thank
that's
you,
why,
but at
yeah.
least I'm not that.
Yeah, I knew that followed.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Sage.
Yep, you're welcome. Yeah.
Bring this down to a 5th grade.
all right, any other reports?
I attended the wellness meeting, which was nice, and then we heard that our Blue Zone person, like the work here is coming to an end. I don't know if that hits everywhere, like everywhere in
It's
our town.
Mendocino County.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's interesting that it's not something, it's gonna get influenced into our area and then they move on. That was reported out, and there were some other potential projects. And they have ideas of trying to honor wellness throughout the school, so we're talking about all those things. We talked about they liked the walk, the school starting at Redwood. It was actually, kids seem to like to bring their scooter because it seemed more controlled and safe because no one was driving, we weren't sharing with vehicles. And then I do know, I'll say it again, I thought it was kind of cute, Chris Rogers was saying, end of the year, just, email me by December 15, any laws you think that shouldn't be laws. So you don't often see that, so you might as well just
Should we start the list?
throw a few out there. I don't know if he's on the education committee, but it'd be nice to hear, what's, so I've got things I do at Lunch Action, but I like the offering. And I think, I know there's some SRO upcoming, like town halls that will be scheduled for.
Yeah, and we actually had a good bit of feedback from one of our, actually Martha, about for some of our parents, the town hall, the name, calling it town hall is confusing. And they were thinking, is it at town hall? And that kind of thing. So we're gonna think of reframing that maybe around to like parent information night or parent engagement night or some, I don't know. We had some suggestions that were actually family forums,
I like family forum because parent information night sounds like you're getting preached to
Right,
as a parent,
that's-
like you're like, you're like,
It's not
yeah,
an
like you're,
exchange there,
exactly, but
And so the first one actually is going to happen while we're at CSBA.
Oh.
we realized, but the police department is all set, chief is coming, our SRO is coming. And then I talked to Tim and Gary, and they're going to tag team facilitation of it, so I think we're in really good shape, and it'll, they're gonna do a presentation on game science and concerns that way, so it'll be, I'm sure, a very rich discussion, and we're gonna follow that format we've used in the past, so.
Anybody else?
I attend a safety meeting. I think this was that. And they miss you. They want to see the board members. I attend a high school air band. And I try to attend today dialogue meeting, but when I get there, I check in and everything, and then was canceled. So no notice that canceled meetings, and I get the notice that the meeting was get it yesterday for the meeting today, so it's a short time notice. And they every time they say they don't have attendance.
Yeah. But the
Because
time of
it's
day
not-
is hard too.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it like, well, that's not gonna work.
Right,
If it was
10:30 or
10:30 or,
10,
yeah,
11:30, yeah.
yeah, which is difficult.
There is no notice given either, so.
Yeah. that's-
It might have been, was it in her newsletter before? I can't.
4 weeks ago, but still,
Yeah,
I think that we need to get better at marketing that, but also maybe putting out some information to ask parents is this time of day. If we're not getting anybody showing up, then
Pick a different venue.
argue that
or
it's not, so I'm sorry, I'm not trying to say that, but it's,
Need more than one.
but I don't,
Yeah.
I doubt there were a lot of other parents sitting there saying, hey, is this meeting happening today? So,
And the two lions were there, so they losing the time to.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
They show up and.
yeah, even if they chatted about feedback, taking the opportunity if there were people there.
Yeah.
Since rearrange schedules. I feel like I'm a bad board member because I don't really have anything to report, but I will go ahead and comment because I try to just do a shout out and not, is that I am really excited. Scott asked me how last week's meeting went. I said, really, it was fantastic. I know that CSBA always rejuvenates me and reminds me why I, spend so much time in front of a computer reading the board packet, and I sometimes forget the reason why we're doing this work. And so last week, thinking about kids and really trying to focus and have priorities. I've been saying that I need to have priorities when we're voting things in and out for 10 years now, and I'm so excited that we're actually going to have them down on a piece of paper, and all 5 of us will be in agreement on that. And just exciting, and I'm glad we're getting there slowly but surely.
I've been away. Getting back in, I'm sorry I missed the meeting. Sounds like it was great. But I look forward to talking base with Nicole and continuing on.
You definitely, you didn't, it's not like it's, it's the path, so I think you'll just jump in and
Yep.
add your stuff to it and,
So are we in advance
Yes.
planning? So VP president conversation? Did you
Yeah,
wanna-
so there's a whole thing that so I noticed maybe not last year, the year before, we had a ancillary duties draft at the November meeting, so we could look at it and then approve it in December. So I don't know if there's a way to email it this week, so we can all just take a look.
That's true,
and-
maybe just on our own, obviously.
It's not an official approved document.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's draft.
well, Joe just sent it out to the union, so that was a fresh email.
That's this
Current.
current.
You
That's
wanna do a
for
proposed
2025.
one?
Yeah.
I thought you had a proposed one.
Proposed.
yeah, or both,
Can we
like
do
current
it?
and then, yeah.
Can we do it, Google Docs so they can fill in if you have a particular passion about a particular committee or something like that?
Yeah.
maybe we can share it out that way and you can just put your name in on a committee if you're like Scott. You know, you really want to continue on the safety committee or.
Just don't chat with each other, and if two people are in the document, don't.
Or we could just look at the form and just bring it in December. It's not like it's that cumbersome, it's not like a survey, or it's a lot of work for you.
If we have any problems, we can email Joe.
Yeah, we can reach out to us.
Yeah.
We can plug it in if we're not comfortable being on the document.
But yeah, going back to the president, vice president thing. So traditionally, we've talked about it the month before.
The month before, so we won't have that, 'cause in December is when
Right.
the organizational meeting.
We vote, and generally we nominate at the meeting. I'm at the end of my second year.
Yeah,
That's,
or policy.
that's
To
that.
change policy.
Yep.
But you could always be VP and she could be president, we just flip flop the roles.
It's a possibility, but.
Are you gonna be able to commit, in the sense of, do you want to have that role? Yes.
I do, because
You do.
kind of sounds, but yeah, I feel like I've grown a lot since the last time and
It's a long time
and I
ago. There's a long
really am
time ago,
excited
because
about, it was COVID,
There's a lot, it was before COVID,
yeah, and then
Yeah,
through
it
the
was
beginning
19.
of COVID.
yeah, 18, 19.
And I'm excited about where we're going as a board, so I would be honored and excited to do that.
Awesome.
I do worry, I'll be honest, a little bit about my new hobby and the time that it's a lot of Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, but I'm hoping that they're not gonna fall on the second Thursday.
That's good, that's half the battle.
Yep. And I'll just have to make choices, yeah.
Well, half the battle we have a potential nomination.
Yes, half the battle, exactly. Not your personal battle.
Well, and if someone else is very passionate and wants to too,
Yeah.
I'm not, I will not be.
But it makes sense, because you've been VP, that's usually the next step, we'll have to be thinking the other role. And we'll get the list. Be ready.
Only 5
Nominations.
Yeah. That's right.
Use my random map.
Yeah.
Sometimes that might be better.
Well, we usually don't have a lot of conflicts. So nobody's arm wrestling for certain things.
Anything else for advanced planning?
That's the big part.
Okay. For housekeeping, we have a Three Rivers meeting next Tuesday.
I will be out of town, I'll be attending the conference in
I think I
Phoenix.
have a basketball game.
I can
Someone
go.
else could go, that would be awesome.
Let me put on my calendar.
15.
18th.
And then, I forgot to put this in my report, but on the 24th, we're gonna do a food distribution for, a subset of our families who receive SNAP benefits and identified through our liaisons as well. And we get a final number on it?
No, Laura has to keep it open until tomorrow. So she's
There were about
made it possible.
maybe 20 families or so.
Or shoot for
Okay, so aiming for about 30 families or so, provide them with some of the protein items and things like that, fresh foods that the food banks don't typically have. So looking at meats, cheeses, things like that, we're working with our distributor and also with Harvest a little bit, I think, to try to get those things. And use some funding that some of that IRS funding we thought would be appropriate, because it's not budgeted anyway, so we thought we'd take a small section of that. Use that to help cover, because even with benefits being restored, it's, a lot of people are arrears on that kind of thing. Not out of the hot water.
So who's on the next agenda setting? And a new classified staff orientation meeting, and it's, we're not.
That's just that's purely informational. But we are holding them monthly now. And so there were, it was interesting because yesterday was one of the meetings and I spoke with our head of the CSEA. She's like, can we have existing employees come? I'm like, sure. I'm with me. I mean, if they need a refresher on who's where and what, and have those conversations, come on down. We'll be happy to do that.
If you ever want our presidents, one of us, let us know.
Absolutely, but I think it's mostly just orienting to, here's who you call at the district office for this or that or the other, and here are some important documents and stuff.
So the first equity walk is in December. So Nicole had mentioned that we could do two, right, 2 board members. Are we gonna do that? And how are we gonna figure out who the second one is and for the other ones?
Did we do that already?
I think for the second.
Not
Those were supposed to be visitations.
No, we just
It was
said
supposed to be Redwood, but that got bumped.
Right.
Yeah, that one.
We didn't already, 2 of us didn't already sign up for each one.
no, we basically said that we would stick with the board member who's assigned to each site, just to keep there too much crossover. If a second board member would like to attend at any site, we could, but I just didn't wanna.
Okay, so we're not doing that. Okay.
Yeah, I was trying not to put it out there in a way that was, I'm honestly concerned about the size of the groups going into classrooms, like it's, I know she's got a vision for it, but eventually it gets to a size where it's.
It sounds like there are more than, yeah.
So do we know who's going to the high school?
That's who's, right? And so we're not rotating.
We're not rotating that
Mine
assignment
is
to
not,
certain,
yeah.
so we're not.
So whatever site you're on right now is what equity.
Right,
whether it's
exactly.
now or after December 11th.
Do you mind resetting out that schedule? Do we have all the sites scheduled?
Yes, we do.
I think that's, yeah, we'll have that.
Yeah, it's on our agenda with Nicole as well. We can pull that,
I can look at it.
I can look.
Anything else for? Okay. Well, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Move to adjourn. Second?
Second.
thank you.
Ooh.
And Joe, if I'm gonna argue that 1 + 1 is not equal to 2, my argument is really gonna be that it's only for very large